What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 7 EC. Chapter 71 World Government's Last Hope. When the knight could already see the Saint Charmaine so close at hand, he could even reach out to reach him. A guy in black robes and a white Magatama mask appeared behind him. You didn't expect it. You still have to pass my test. After hearing the words of the man behind him, the knight found an astonishing momentum pressing on him before he could turn around, and he was unable to break free for a while. When Lin Chen appeared at the scene, everyone on the rescue team felt a sense of powerlessness, as if it were an insurmountable mountain. When the 5 elders saw Lin Chen appear, they all lay on the chair as if they had lost all strength. Madara, the leader of Daybreak, able to fight against Garp, Zephyr, and Akainu at the same time without falling behind. Once a strong man of this level appears, it is equivalent to a nuclear bomb. There isn't enough strong people that can't be stopped. At this time, he slapped his hands heavily on the handrails of the ship, feeling frustrated in his heart. Damn it, it was just a little bit close. Lin Chen's absence for a long time made everyone lower their guard, but he appeared at this most critical step, blocking the way to save Charma Kushung, making people powerless. Obviously, one person alone cannot break through Lin Chen's defense line. Even if Akainu rushes over, it will be of no avail. This rescue operation is destined to end in failure. His brain was running rapidly, thinking of the final way to break the situation. There must still be a chance. There must still be a chance. Suddenly, a figure flashed in her mind, but then she hesitated a little. She looked at the figure of the dragon in the sky, and then focused on the golden lion. Crane suddenly smiled and picked up the ball without hesitation. The phone bug started making contact. Garp and Guon were now standing on land, holding telescopes to watch the battle scene in the distance. There was a swordsman holding a long sword and 2 children beside them. When he saw Lin Chen appear, Guon was a little excited and nudged Garp with his elbow. Lin Chen, he's out. Garp focused on Long and Lin Chen and kept moving. I know, that kid doesn't need to worry now. Look at Long. How dare he fight 2 admiral-level strong men alone? Lin Chen, that brat, doesn't know how to help his elder brother share the burden. Quote. There is no better son than a father. Garp still knows very well how much the dragon weighs. He can beat an admiral-level strongman, but he must have forced himself to fight 2 admiral-level strongmen. Although he and Lin Chen didn't know each other for a long time, he and Zephyr Akainu fought with Lin Chen a few years ago, but he didn't know that Madara was Lin Chen at that time. Lin Chen's fighting prowess at that time was extremely shocking to him. Although in the end the brat threatened Guon with some dirty tricks and ran away, he had to deny that Lin Chen's strength was indeed superior to that of a dragon. The man next to the 2 of them always squinted his eyes and smiled, giving people a feeling of spring breeze. He held the bamboo sword in his arms and silently watched the battle in the distance. But the 2 children were all focused on Guon, especially the 2 long swords on Guion's waist. Sister, can girls also become swordsmen? The voice of the little girl on the side moved Guion's eyes away from Lin Chen and looked at the 3 people on the side. Speaking of which, these 3 people also helped me. To be precise, it was the older man in the middle. Originally, I and Mr. Garp were chasing the pirates, and some of them had already escaped to the land. I really wanted to let them escape from the land before trying to catch them. Living there is as difficult as climbing to heaven. Just when he was worried about how to catch up, a man with squinting eyes suddenly appeared on the only way for the pirates to escape. He held a bamboo sword and killed the escaping pirates in 2 or 3 strokes. Guon estimated that this person's swordsmanship was not weaker than his own, but he didn't know how such a strong man could appear in this place. In the end, the 3 of them worked together to get rid of the remaining pirates. The man was obviously surprised when he discovered that Guon was also a powerful swordsman, and then left briefly and brought back 2 children. The boy looked about 8 or 9 years old, with a green algae head, fearless, but his eyes were bright. The other girl looked much gentler, but there was a hint of sadness in her eyes from time to time. Guon touched the little girl's head and smiled. Why can't girls become swordsmen? As long as you have courage and perseverance, you can even become a great swordsman. Then Guon looked at the man and said, I haven't thanked you for your help just now. This is Mr. Garp. My name is Guon, and first am the Marine participating in the battle this time. Thank you for your help in killing the pirates. The man was a little surprised when he heard Garp's name, but he still said, I am Koshiro, this is my beloved daughter Kuina, and this is my apprentice Zoro. After a pause, Koshiro continued, I heard an explosion here when I was in the dojo. After looking around, I found out that it was the shell of the Marine warship. I was worried for a while, but it seemed like it's related to what happened recently. As he spoke, Koshiro looked worried. After all, this matter seemed to have something to do with Ryuya. He had a good relationship with Ryu. Many members of the Revolutionary Army were still resting in his dojo, waiting for Ryu's return. Because he was worried about being involved, Koshiro did not choose to go there, but when he saw these pirates about to escape, he couldn't help but kill them. These pirates would become a big hidden danger if they were left. Guon looked at the battle in the distance and said, as you wish, that thing is happening now, and the result is still unknown. Koshiro nodded. He didn't care about this, he just wanted it to end quickly. Kuina blinked her big eyes and looked at her father and said, Father. Girls can also become great swordsmen. This Guion's sister is it. Koshiro was stunned, looked at Guion and smiled. Kuina has always wanted to become a great swordsman, but... Guion looked at Zoro and then at Kuina, seeming to understand something. There is no but, Mr. Koshiro, if you want to say that girls are inherently inferior to boys, then forget it. There are many female marines around me who are more determined and stronger than men. Each of them is a very powerful man. Looking at Kuina, Guion encouraged. As long as you keep persisting in your dream and train hard, you will definitely succeed. Kuina's eyes sparkled as she looked at Guion and nodded heavily. For a long time, my father has been saying that girls are inherently inferior to boys and will not develop like boys in the future. No matter how hard I try, I will never get the approval of my father. However, today she met a big sister who was no weaker than her father. She is also a swordsman. And his father seemed to be surprised too. This immediately filled Kuina's heart with motivation, and she was about to give up. Turning to look at Zoro aside, Kuina smiled and said, Hey. Remember, I will always be stronger than you. I want to become a great swordsman like this sister. Not to be outdone, Zoro said. You're just 2 years older than me. I will definitely surpass you in the future. Just wait. Guion looked at the two children and smiled without saying anything. The two looked just like himself and Lin Chen when they were children. At that time, Lin Chen often learned swordsmanship from him. Thinking of this, Guion's mouth curved slightly, and his heart became very sweet. However, at this moment, the phone bug in Garp's arms also rang. Garp took out his phone and found that it was he who was calling. He thought about it and answered the phone. Shao he. I'm still here chasing pirates. There are too many. If there's nothing else, I'll just hang up. Garp, don't you want to listen to me for a few more words? Garp fell silent. He knew that Marine and the world government were now powerless to revolving heaven, but he still wanted to hear what reason Crane wanted to use to persuade him to go back and join the war. ... Boundary line. P.S. It's a great day today. I originally planned to post them together as a surprise, but I made a mistake and posted them first. In the end, I posted these 3 chapters together. It can be regarded as a thank you to readers for their continued support. I also have a small request, everyone. Readers who haven't rated it yet, please take the time to click on your little hand and rate it. I want to go up to 8 points. Chapter 72. The battle situation escalates. Advertise here. Crane glanced at the golden lion in the sky, avoided the world government side, and spoke to the phone bug. Garp, I know you have deep resentment towards the world government, but just think that this time it is to get the escaped golden lion. Lion takes it back again. Garp hesitated after hearing his words. The suggestion to capture Golden Lion really moved him. After all, he and Sengoku worked together to imprison Golden Lion. Now that he has escaped, he has the obligation to capture him again. He can't continue to let it go. He fled outside. They had not been able to find out about the Golden Lion for several years before. This time was a golden opportunity. Hearing the silence from Garp, he continued, now that the dragon is in a hard fight, are you really not going to get involved? If you use some small tricks, I can pretend that you didn't see it. Don't worry about Aokiji and Kizaru. While Garp was still thinking, Guion suddenly said, Sister He, do you really not care about small actions? He had black lines on his head, but he still said, as long as it's not too much, it's okay, but I have to try my best to win this battle. Although I don't have much hope. Thinking that Akainu was about to arrive at the battlefield, he continued, Akainu is about to arrive at the battlefield. The outcome of this battle is still uncertain. As long as you, Guion and Akainu can contain Madara, they can rescue Char. Marco Saint. Hearing Suru's voice, Garp and Guion didn't pay attention to the nonsense she said about rescuing Charmako Saint. They wished this waste would die quickly. But Guion still said, let's go. He was a little surprised. She originally thought she would have to persuade him for a while, but she didn't expect Guion to agree more quickly than Garp. Sister He, let's hang up the phone first. We'll be there in a moment. Do. Looking at the phone that has been hung up in her hand, Suruya can only place her last hope on these two people. If it is as she said, Garp, Guion, and Akainu can hold Madara, then this battle will definitely be able to success. Garp looked helplessly at the phone that was taken away by Guion, and said, are you really planning to save the celestial dragons? Doesn't that disrupt Lin Chen's plan? Guion showed a sly look, glanced at Garp, and said, Mr. Garp, don't you realize that the turning point in this war now lies with us? Even if Akainu comes over, he can't change the situation, but if we take action, you can change the situation of the battle at will. Just show off in front of the world government, and in the end, Lin Chen will be able to execute the plan smoothly. After hearing Guion's analysis, Garp suddenly realized, but he still said, I still focus on the Golden Lion, and we must capture him this time. After saying that, the two looked at each other, laughed, and then rushed towards the battlefield in the sky without hesitation. Everyone far away on the battlefield also saw the two men's actions. Naturally, some were happy and some were sad. Lin Chen had turned into a bitter look. He really didn't expect that the two of them would take action. Although he believed in his heart that they would not let him fail, he was still a little helpless at the moment. On the contrary, Marine was all excited, and even the five elders were amazed when they saw this scene. Not bad, these two people still didn't let us down at the critical moment. If they have some small requests in the future, we can still grant them. With the two of them plus Akainu who is about to arrive on the battlefield, the victory this time will eventually belong to us. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Sengoku couldn't help but laugh when he saw the five elders looking happy. He nodded frequently at the figures of Garp and Guon on the screen, feeling that he owed them a favor. The hearts of those watching the live broadcast around the world sank. The marine heroes chose to help the world government rescue the celestial dragons. This was not what they wanted to see, but there was nothing they could do about it. After all, Garp was still a marine and needed to obey the world government's orders. But what made them more concerned was who the female marine was following Garp. Not only was this female marine very young, but she also looked very beautiful. At first, they all thought she was a vase from marine who was following Garp. Military merit. But now she dares to participate in the battle in the sky. Does this mean that this female marine is no less powerful than Admiral? Or do you mean that you don't know whether to live or die? Everyone was looking forward to her performance, and they were also curious about Garp's move. As for Madara, the leader of the Dawn organization, there is only one record so far. One person faced off against Garp, Zephyr, and Akainu without losing. However, no one has seen it before, and I think there is still some bragging involved. This time in front of the whole world. Humanly speaking, they wanted to see how powerful this legendary figure really was. The opponent is a man like Garp who has forced Roger into desperate situations many times. They are more willing to believe that Garp can defeat Madara. At the same time, a blazing heat wave also spewed out from a distance. Looking closely, the white clouds in the sky seemed to be burned into fiery red. A man in a red suit with a flower on his chest and a determined look rushed over quickly. It was the Marine Admiral who came to support, Akainu. Meteor volcano. Before the people arrive, the sound comes first. With one move, a large-scale magma fireball quickly attacks everyone present regardless of the enemy or friend, directly forcing everyone away. Lin Chen chuckled lightly. This time, all the combat power was gathered. He originally wanted to kill Charmakushung, which was an easy task, but he was ready to kill him in front of everyone. Kill, so that everyone in the world can see that even if Marine and world government gather all their combat power, they cannot save the celestial dragons. Garp and Guon didn't rush over when they saw Akainu arriving. They stood with everyone and looked at Lin Chen and others opposite. Counting carefully, 10 people from Marine, Admiral, Knights of God, Garp, and Guon stood side by side, majestic. Opposite were Lin Chen, Long, Rayleigh, Crocodile, Enel, and the Red Hair Pirates. Although Lin Chen's side has the advantage in terms of numbers, not all of the Red Hair Pirates can participate in this battle. Only Shanks can compete with Admiral. Beckman now needs to work with others to compete with an Admiral. Because the Golden Lion was controlled by Lin Chen, it did not have much fighting power. A man stood behind them with Charmakushung in a dull manner. The smell of gunpowder between the two sides is very strong, and even everyone watching the live broadcast can feel it. Whether the celestial dragons will be slaughtered in front of everyone, or whether the world government and Marine will join forces to destroy these so-called thugs, everyone is looking forward to it. If the once aloof celestial dragons were casually slaughtered like beasts, then the whole world would change, and Lin Chen and the others would definitely become the #1 enemy of Marine and the world government. Chapter 73. Beheading St. Chalmers. Looking at the people in front of him, Lin Chen walked out alone, and his voice spread throughout the world through the live broadcast. Celestial dragons. This inferior race should not exist in the world. These bastards have been aloof for a long time. They regard human life as nothing. Now they are like a dead dog and are slaughtered by others. Watch. Even if the world government and Marine, the forces that the celestial dragons are proud of, join forces, they can't be saved. Tremble. All celestial dragons. I know you in Mariejois are also watching this scene. Just wait. In the near future, your ending will be like that of Saint Charmaine. As he spoke, Lin Chen picked up Charmakushung behind him with one hand and stepped on his head hard with his foot. The soles of his feet stepped on Charmakushung's face and kept rubbing. This scene also made everyone on the opposite side fearful and even had the urge to take action. Lin Chen glanced at them and smiled. If you dare to come here, I will make his head bloom now. This threat also made the other party dare not make any more moves. After all, Lin Chen's strength was not weaker than any of them, or even worse. Their little moves could not escape Lin Chen's eyes. And they were worried about Charmakushung's life safety, so they didn't dare to take any action. Seeing how the other party wanted to take action but didn't dare, Lin Chen laughed wildly. A powerful man who was famous all over the world is held back by this little loser. Why do bastards like celestial dragons have such privileges? Does the prince and General Shang Ning have the guts? Lin Chen's words were transmitted to the whole world through the screen. Everyone's heart could not calm down for a long time, and those words echoed all the time. Princes, generals, and prime ministers would rather have their own kind. Moreover, the miserable appearance of celestial dragons Saint Charma shocked their hearts. The celestial dragons were also trampled under their feet. Hancock from Hydra Island looked at Lin Chen stepping on Charma Kushung. His whole body was trembling slightly, and there was a look of hatred in his eyes. Now she only hates that she is not Lin Chen. Although she has done it before killing celestial dragons, it was all a few years ago, and that man. As if he thought of something, Hancock's heart trembled again, his eyes filled with murderous intent as he looked at Charma Kushung. Of course, Lin Chen kept a cautious eye in the end, glanced at the golden lion behind him, and said with a smile, the once legendary pirate golden lion also hated the world government and celestial dragons. Now, I will give this cherished opportunity to Golden Lion Mr. Lion. As he spoke, Lin Chen controlled the golden lion to come to the crowd, slowly raised the two knives on his feet, and crossed them on the back of Charmaine's neck just like the executioner did when he executed Roger. Everyone on the opposite side also saw the real murderous intent in Lin Chen's eyes, and their hearts trembled, and they rushed towards the golden lion without hesitation. Dust escape. Original realm stripping technique. Seeing the opponent rushing towards him, Lin Chen held his hands empty, and a silver-white cube emerged from his hand, which instantly enlarged and shrouded the opponent's path. This move caused everyone to dodge, but this also missed the best opportunity to save Charma Kushung. Aha! The two knives on the golden lion's feet crossed and flashed from Charma Kushung's neck. A huge human head flew into the air, and blood sprayed out from the air, even mixed with some yellow grease. Garp and Guon avoided these things in disgust. Aokiji and Kizaru also elementally transformed in time, and these liquids were evaporated before they even touched Akainu. Everyone in the Knights of God stood there blankly at a loss, and the faint smell of blood in the air made their heartbeats freeze. Everyone stared blankly at this scene, which was also broadcast throughout the world through live broadcast. The five elders looked at the scene in front of them and were speechless, but they quickly responded and immediately started to contact He. This is not the first time that this kind of thing has appeared in front of them. The last time was even more shocking than this time. The scene where the celestial dragons were beaten into bloody foam by Lin Chen seemed to be still vivid in their minds. Therefore, they were more capable than ordinary people. Be more accepting of this kind of thing. Let everyone take action immediately and treat everyone in front of you as an enemy. Leave no one behind. And everyone in the world watching the live broadcast stared at this scene in a daze, froze on the spot, staring blankly at the body of Charma Kushung who was still spitting blood in the screen, and this was still echoing in their minds. Celestial dragons being beheaded. Crack, crack, crack. The sound coming from the screen made them wake up a little. Looking carefully, Lin Chen was clapping slowly at this time. Not bad. As he spoke, a blue, high-speed rotating ball of light slowly appeared in his hand and pressed directly towards the body of Charma Kushung. Brush. Under the high-speed rotation of the Rasengan, Charma Kushung's body was instantly ground into residue as if it was thrown into a meat grinder. The scene was a little quiet. Lin Chen looked at the other party's stunned look and smiled. What are you doing standing there in a daze? Come and catch us. After hearing Lin Chen's words, the Knights of God were the first to react. The five of them were no longer as high-minded as they were at the beginning. Their entire faces became very distorted, and the voices in their throats screamed out with all their strength. Kill you. Seeing this scene, the three Marines and Admirals looked at each other and rushed forward immediately. The mission had failed. Just now, he also issued Sengoku's order to surround and kill everyone in front of him. Garp and Guon looked at the figure in the sky with some worry, but in the end they chose to believe Lin Chen. Guon fell behind the team and stared at Lin Chen with burning eyes, while Garp's goal was much clearer and he rushed straight towards the golden lion. Lin Chen looked at the people rushing towards him, smiled, and the Mangekyo in his eyes slowly turned. He wanted to know what would happen if the control of the golden lion was released now. This is what he has considered. With his strength, it is not a problem to fight 1 against 4. Rayleigh, Shanks, and Long can deal with 1 admiral, Crocodile and Enel can deal with 1, and the remaining Beckman takes the other red hair. The pirates come to deal with them. No matter what, they will not lose this battle. Garp and Guon were not among his considerations. It all depends on how good their acting skills are. However, Guion's look that wanted to eat him still made him feel guilty. He just begged Guon not to remember that he had bullied her at the auction. At this moment, he also wants to test how strong he is now and whether he can defeat the Knights of God alone. Thinking of this, Lin Chen immediately released control of Golden Lion. Golden Lion's eyes gradually became clear, and he shook his head. He looked at the bloodline on his knife with some confusion. His last memory seemed to be that he encountered several old men sneaking up on him. Who are those people? Golden Lion is still thinking about this issue in his mind. But when his eyes slowly took in the scene in front of him, he stayed in place and couldn't believe it, and some strange sounds came from his noisy ears. Golden Lion, how dare you kill the celestial dragons? You can't run away. Suffer death. Then he heard a familiar voice again. When he saw the person clearly, he suddenly felt panic in his heart. Garp, why are you here? Garp looked at the golden lion in the distance with some confusion, but his iron fists had turned black. Stop talking nonsense. I'm here to take you back. Please repent in the underwater prison. As soon as Garp finished speaking, everyone was already fighting. Chapter 74 The Decisive Battle. Advertise here. Although Golden Lion was a little confused at this time, he was obviously not a weakling. He reacted immediately when Garp got closer and was about to attack him. Lion. Thousand Slice Valley. The two long knives on its legs charged towards Garp with a powerful slash, and immediately flew into the sky. Seeing this, Garp immediately chased after him, and the two once again launched a fierce battle in the sky. Lin Chen glanced at the sky. Even though Golden Lion's current strength has dropped significantly, although the lion is old, it still has some power. At present, even if Garp wants to win Golden Lion in a short time, it is unlikely. And everyone immediately faced their opponents. Rayleigh drew the long sword from his waist and pointed it at Kizaru. In his perception, Kizaru was a big threat. Porosalino. How about a fight? Kizaru looked at the old man in front of him and did not dare to be careless at all. As Roger's deputy, his own strength was beyond doubt. Tian Kong Yun Sword. Summoning the Tian Kong Yun Sword, Kizaru said. As expected of Pluton Rayleigh, this aura is really terrifying. Although it was scary to bite him one by one, Kizaru was not merciful when he started, waving the long sword in his hand and quickly rushed towards Rayleigh. Just in time, Rayleigh's eyes burst with fighting spirit, and he also faced him with a long sword. On the other side, Crocodile and Enel jointly stared at a Knight of God, and each launched their own moves to attack. Shanks took the Red Hair Pirates to face the two Knights of God, while Ryu chose to fight Aokiji. At this time, Long and Aokiji looked at each other and looked at each other. After all, there was Garp in the middle as a hub, so it was difficult for anyone to kill them. The two of them fought farther and farther away from each other and left the main battlefield after a while. Therefore, the only opponents left for Lin Chen now are Akainu, Guon, and the last two Knights of God. Although it was different from what he expected to fight against the five Knights of God, Lin Chen did not dare to be careless at this moment. With 3 Admiral-level experts plus 1 Quasi-Admiral level, it would not be easy for me to win. After looking at the 4 people opposite, the two Knights of God looked as if they wanted to cut themselves into pieces. Lin Chen decided to defeat these two people first. Wood style. The tree world is coming. Thousands of trees broke through the ice from the sea and rushed straight towards a few people. Although Guon was also inside, Lin Chen did not choose to avoid it deliberately. He felt that Guon came with her purpose. Sure enough, as he thought, the others immediately avoided these trees, but Guon went directly to face them, and rushed in front of him with 2 swords and slashes. 2-sword style. Dragon Flash. Guion's double swords were covered with armament hockey, and his eyes were extremely serious. If Lin Chen hadn't seen that Guion's hand holding the sword seemed unsteady, he would have almost believed it. But at this moment, he did not choose to hold back. Compared to ninjutsu, this time he also covered armament hockey on his fist, and punched Guon. Boom. At this time, the two of them were fighting in the trees. People outside could not see clearly who was winning and who was losing. They could only see a figure flying backwards quickly and landing on the ice. Guon stood up with a knife in both hands, staring angrily at Lin Chen in the air, and finally vomited a mouthful of blood and collapsed on the ground. At this time, Lin Chen was holding a long knife in his hand. It was Jingjae that he had been away from for a long time. He felt that the handle of the knife in his hand was still a little warm. Lin Chen skillfully danced the knife flower, and then looked at Akainu. 3 people. The 3 of them glanced at Guon, who seemed to have lost his fighting ability. They felt extremely depressed, but they still rushed straight towards Lin Chen. Dark Hound. Akainu was the first to attack, his entire right arm condensed into lava and attacked Lin Chen. The other 2 Knights of God also attacked Lin Chen from the flanks. Seeing Akainu's move, Lin Chen did not choose to dodge. The long knife was added with hockey and struck Akainu's fist. A metallic roar spread from the 2 attacks. Akainu was shocked by Lin Chen's long knife and took a few steps back in the air. Lin Chen did not take advantage of the victory and pursued him. He jumped into the air to avoid the attacks of the other 2 people. At this time, Lin Chen was floating in the sky, with a long knife across his chest, looking down at the 3 Akainu people, and a strong conqueror's hockey burst out all over his body. The 3 of them were shocked by this wave of hockey, but they still withstood Lin Chen's momentum. The real battle has just begun. After saying a few words, Lin Chen turned into a stream of light and rushed towards the 3 people in front of him. Don't take yourself too seriously. Akainu looked angry and gathered all his strength to face Lin Chen's attack with a punch. Boom. A powerful aura erupted from the attack between the 2 men, and even the frozen sea surface showed signs of being broken. Lin Chen was a little surprised to see Akainu being able to take this blow. It seemed that Akainu had made great progress in the past few years. Marine Admiral is nothing more than that. Is this the only thing he can do? The 2 faced off for a moment. When Lin Chen attached Conqueror's Haki and Armament Haki to the long sword at the same time, Akainu was obviously unable to resist. Whoosh! The knife knocked Akainu flying and hit the ice hard. At the same time, the attacks of the other two Knights of God also came to Lin Chen. Seeing the attack moves of these two people, Lin Chen also knew that their current generation of Knights of God were all strong Haki warriors like Zephyr. The long knife resisted the fists of the two men, but still made Lin Chen retreat a lot. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at Akainu who was about to get up on the ice. Lin Chen attached the long knife in his hand to Haki and threw it towards Akainu. Akainu who didn't react was nailed to the ice by Lin Chen's knife. And he and the other two started fighting fiercely in the air. The three of them hit from the sky to the ice, and then from the ice to the sky, making sonic booms in the air wherever they went. Lin Chen also truly felt the strength of these two people, which was only stronger than the former Knights of God. Each has mastered the high-level armament Haki emission, and their own physical skills are also very powerful, enough to rival Admiral. After escaping the attack moves of the two men again, Lin Chen did not intend to play anymore. At the beginning, he fought with the idea of giving it a try, and simply became familiar with the swordsmanship and physical skills that he had not used for many years. Fortunately, relying on my Sharingan and Ba Tang, I was able to fight back and forth with the two Admiral strongmen purely by relying on physical skills. My current physical skills were only at the Admiral level. Great eruption. A scorching heat wave hit Lin Chen from behind, and Lin Chen quickly flew high into the sky, holding his hands empty. Dust escape. Original realm stripping technique. The white laser and the red lava attacked each other, and soon both disappeared into the air. Looking at Akainu, blood was still flowing from Akainu's shoulder at this time. Jingjie was also inserted casually on the ice. It was obvious that Akainu had recovered his fighting power and continued to join the battlefield. The three of them stood side by side again, their eyes locked on Lin Chen. Lin Chen took a look at the battlefields around him. Most of them were still in a stalemate. It was difficult to tell the winner immediately. On the land in the distance, the aftermath of the fierce battle between Golden Lion and Garp could still be seen. At present, the only one who has the ability to make changes is himself. As long as he kills the three of them in a short time and leads everyone to retreat, he can successfully complete this mission. Thinking of this, dark lines slowly appeared on Lin Chen's face under the mask, and he clapped his hands together. Sage Art. Wood Style. True Several Thousand Hands. Chapter 75 Victory. Advertise here. The huge wooden statue of Guanyin rises from the ice, attracting the attention of all the people around it. Even people like Akainu who had already seen this move felt oppressive when they saw Lin Chen summoning the 100-meter-long Guanyin wooden statue again. And people watching through the live broadcast were even more shocked. I thought Madara's swordsmanship and physical skills were already very powerful, so what is this move? It must be demon fruit power to summon such a huge wooden statue of Guanyin. It seems that they were able to successfully retreat this time at dawn. Not only did they kill the celestial dragons, but they were also able to escape from the joint efforts of Marine and world government. It's so cool. Whitebeard, Kaido and Big Mom, who were watching the live broadcast in New World, were also amazed. Kaido looked at Lin Chen in the video with burning eyes and said, "Is this all the strength of Madara? I wonder if it can kill me." As if he thought of something again, Kaido suddenly became irritable. "Damn Madara, you were the one who stole the devil fruit that belonged to me 3 years ago. I must kill you." Whitebeard didn't care that much. He just felt that there was another strong person in the world. There was never a shortage of strong people. As long as Madara didn't offend his family, everything would be fine. At this time, a man wearing a hood watching the live broadcast was very confused. Looking at the moves Lin Chen used on the screen, he became suspicious. How is this so similar to my fruit power? Are there two Sensen fruits? The doubts in Aramaki's heart were destined to not be answered at this time, and he could only watch the live broadcast silently. Perhaps, he could secretly learn this trick. Everyone on the battlefield was a little surprised when they saw Lin Chen's move, especially the countless Marines who were in shock for a long time and could not recover. Standing on top of the Buddha statue, Lin Chen looked at the three people in front of him, his tone full of coldness. Let you see the combat power at the top of this world. Sage Art. Wood Style. Transform into a Buddha on top. More than 1,000 thick wooden hands quickly hit the three of them, and even the ice was broken by Lin Chen. Great Eruption. Meteor Volcano. Dark Hound. Akainu still thought about resisting a few more times, but his whole body was instantly overwhelmed by these wooden hands, and the same was true for the other two Knights of God. Boom. The huge roar attracted the attention of everyone present, and the strong men from the Marine and World Government camps stopped. When the smoke cleared, a burst of red light erupted under the wood, followed by countless lava spurts. Akainu was covered in blood, but he still climbed out resolutely, dragging the other two people with him. Seeing Akainu's behavior, Lin Chen sighed in his heart. Lava fruit played very well in Akainu's hands, perfectly utilizing the characteristics of magma, which also prevented Lin Chen's wood style from fully exerting its power. On the other hand, the other two members of the Knights of God seemed to have been seriously injured, but they were still far from death. As Lin Chen's blow came to an end, the strong men from Marine and World Government gathered together and looked at Lin Chen solemnly. Rayleigh and the others also stood side by side with Lin Chen. They glanced at the carefree Lin Chen and felt speechless. This guy's relaxed look really made him uncomfortable. While he was still exhausted trying to think of a way to escape, he and Aokiji secretly ran to the distance to act. On the battlefield today, everyone is facing each other again except Garp and Golden Lion who are still fighting. He also walked to the front, looked at the stressful Guanyin wooden statue in front of him and sighed. With such strong men in front of them, it would be difficult for them to defeat each other no matter what. Unless Sengoku and Garp can take action on the spot, there is still a slight chance, but judging from the current situation, the hope is very slim. After taking a look at the place where the live broadcast was still going on, Lin Chen said, the cooperation between Marine and World Government is just that. Even if we kill the Tianlong pig in front of you, it seems that you can't do anything. Maintaining the dignity of the so-called celestial dragons and bullying the weak, where is the justice in this world? The dawn led by me will eventually create a prosperous age that is completely fair and just. Even the era of great pirates opened by Roger, I will close it with my own hands. Just wait, all the pirates, and the dragon pigs who are still living in Mariejois. I will become a lingering shadow in your hearts. After saying all this, Lin Chen's aura rose to an unparalleled level. Looking at the Marine three admirals in front of him, the Knights of God, Lin Chen let out a sneer. Sage art, wood style, the world of flowers and trees is coming. Sage art, wood style, wood dragon technique, sage art, wood style, transform into a Buddha on top. Sage art, wood style, the tree world is coming. Sage art, Myojin Gate, under the 5th level of ninjutsu, even the 8 admiral level experts in front of them were unable to resist. The range of Lin Chen's technique was too wide, giving them no chance to escape. Especially the few red pillars falling from the sky gave off a sharp aura, forcing everyone to deal with them carefully. 3 Admiral glanced at the pig liver-colored faces of the knights and knew that these 5 people would not be able to play any role in this kind of move, so they all used their own special moves. Ice Age, 8-foot beautiful Magatama, Meteor Volcano. Great Eruption. Boom. An extremely terrifying explosive atmosphere spurted out from the middle of the battlefield, shattering the ice on the sea surface, shaking countless layers of seawater, and eventually causing waves tens of meters high to hit the surrounding islands. Lin Chen, who was standing on the wooden statue, glanced at the village in the distance that was very close to the coastline, without stopping his hands. Dust Escape. Original Realm Stripping Technique. A huge beam of white light shot out from Lin Chen's hand, wiping out all the seawater that was about to cause a serious tsunami, and averting a disaster that would be catastrophic for ordinary people. After taking a look at the 8 people below him who were still resisting the moves, Lin Chen chuckled. Marine. World Government. We will meet again in the future. As he spoke, he soared into the air from the wooden statue, followed by a group of strong men, and quickly flew into the distance, eventually turning into a few black spots and disappearing. And the live broadcasts in the world also shattered with the aftermath of the final battle, turning into black scenes one after another. Everyone already knew the result. At daybreak, the Revolutionary Army, Red Hair Pirates, and Golden Lion teamed up to kill Chalmok Saint. They gained the upper hand under the joint attack of Marine and World Government, and finally stopped and retreated. What just makes everyone wonder is whether they have forgotten someone. Why didn't Golden Lion follow them? But as the live broadcast ended, they were destined not to get this answer. Chapter 76 Golden Lion is arrested again. Boom. Explosions continued to be heard on the ground in the distance, and from time to time you could see a giant lion's head forming on the ground and attacking Garp. At this time, everyone looked at Lin Chen and others who had disappeared in the distance, and then looked at the current battlefield situation, and they all sighed in their hearts. The sea has turned a bright red, and countless pirate corpses are floating on the sea. Only a few pirates are still trying to escape, but this is of no avail under the roundup of Marine Vice Admiral Garp. Shiki. The battle between Garp and Golden Lion is still not over, but Golden Lion is now showing signs of decline and it is clear that it cannot sustain it for much longer. Akainu looked at the battle between the two in the distance, his arms unconsciously turned into lava again, and he flew over without saying a word. Seeing this, Aokiji and Kizaru also followed, while the Knights of God were holding a golden phone bug and listening respectfully to the 5 elders' reprimands. Waste. What a bunch of waste. No one is left. What use are you? If we can't capture the Golden Lion, you don't have to come back. After supporting you for so many years, we are really disappointed. The scolding sound coming from the phone made Crane look sideways, and Sengoku also got through the phone at this time. Xiaohei, although we failed this time, we have done our best. Let's capture the Golden Lion and the remaining pirates. I know. Being able to kill so many pirates this time is a good harvest. It seems that Madara's plan to use pirates to contain us failed. Although we lost this battle, we can in exchange for decades of peace in East Blue. Sengoku nodded after listening to his analysis, but he still had a question in his mind. Based on what Madara said at that time, Sengoku believed that it was Madara's handiwork that so many pirates gathered together and were surrounded and killed by Marine, and not Ruhi. As said, Marine has gained a lot. It can be said that Lin Chen personally fed these pirates into Marine's mouth. Otherwise, it would be absolutely impossible for Marine alone to annihilate so many pirates at once. Garp, I won't play with you anymore. Although I don't know what happened. But I will never let those people go. See you later. Garp was a little confused. He only knew that Lin Chen and others had found Golden Lion, but he didn't know what the relationship was between them. He only learned from Monet that Lin Chen and others had used Golden Lion. But when he saw Golden Lion executing Charma Kushung, there seemed to be no resistance on his face. This seemed to indicate that Golden Lion and Lin Chen were unanimous in their decision to execute Charma Kushung. At this time, Golden Lion's face showed confusion. He thought this was just a small melee. He had not yet realized the seriousness of the matter. Seeing that Golden Lion seemed to be running away, Garp glanced at the people coming behind him and smiled. Golden Lion. Do you think you can run away so easily after killing the celestial dragons? Those guys you mentioned had already run away. It's all gone. Now the world government and Marine are targeting you. Even if I don't catch you, you can't escape. Golden Lion's eyes were filled with shock, and he said, what are you talking about, Garp, are you confused? Did any of you see me killing celestial dragons? Looking at Golden Lion's stunned look, Garp shook his head. Although he didn't know what was going on, he estimated that this was all the work of that boy Lin Chen. No matter what, I will definitely catch you back this time. As he spoke, Garp jumped up, grinning and revealing a white fang, but the dark luster on his hands made people shudder. Don't think I'm afraid of you. Golden Lion showed no fear in the face of Garp's iron fist. The two knives on his feet sent out a powerful slash wave to attack Garp. This is the Golden Lion. It's so scary. Kizaru stood behind Golden Lion and touched his chin, looking at Golden Lion curiously. This made Golden Lion nervous, and he didn't even notice when he came behind him. When he saw the person behind him clearly, his whole body burst out with anger and he quickly distanced himself. Dirty monkey. Get out of here. Lion Majesty. Earth coiling. Kizaru's eyes widened slightly. This was the first time he heard someone call him a wretched monkey. Show me how scary the legendary pirates are. Before the soil on the surface could touch Kizaru, he was elementally avoided by him and flew into the sky, condensing white light in his hands. 8-foot beautiful Magatama. Golden Lion's eyes gradually became serious as he watched the incoming light bullets flying rapidly in the air to avoid them. These helpers who arrived seemed to be like monsters. I hadn't been born for so many years, so why did I meet all perverts when I was born? Or was it that I couldn't keep up with the times? Dark Hound. While Golden Lion was thinking, a scorching wave of fire suddenly came in front of him, and then Akainu hit Golden Lion hard on the abdomen with a fierce fist. Puff. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Golden Lion looked at the man in front of him with a face full of fear. What are these things? Akainu's blow caused the Golden Lion to be punched from the land to the sea, and the Golden Lion immediately controlled the water to float. After his judgment, these guys are all demon fruit power, so as long as he controls enough sea water, he can be invincible and wait for an opportunity to escape. I finally escaped from the underwater prison, but I don't want to go back to that dark place again. Let me see the reputation of Golden Lion. Golden Lion activates Devil Fruit's ability, and he gathers countless seawater high in the sky, forming a huge water ball, and the seawater near the sea is drained away. Ha 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 ha. Looking at the shocked faces of countless Marines on the sea, Golden Lion laughed wildly. Just as he was about to make a move, he suddenly heard a sound. The sound was not loud, but he heard it extremely clearly. Ice Age. A burst of ultimate cold air began to freeze inward from the surface of the water polo, and soon the Golden Lion's water polo turned into an ice puck. Looking at the ice puck in the sky, Golden Lion was stunned for the first time, a little at a loss. But the 5 people flying quickly from a distance gave him no time to react. Under the siege of the Knights of God, Golden Lion was quickly defeated. Shiki. Seeing that Golden Lion was beaten without any strength to fight back, Garp also launched his final blow. Boom. The dark iron fist hit Golden Lion hard on the face, and Golden Lion was knocked down from the sky to the sea. With strong willpower, Golden Lion controlled his body and did not fall into the sea. But the strong inertia caused him to fly quickly against the sea surface, and finally hit a warship. The Golden Lion was dented in the warship, spitting out a large mouthful of blood, and had lost the ability to move. Damn. Cough. Forcibly opening his eyes, Golden Lion found that a long knife was pressed against his neck. A female Marine was looking at him coldly, and beside him was his old rival, Crane. Hand up the sea stone. Hearing Crane's last voice, Golden Lion's eyes darkened and he fell into a coma, and he was also handcuffed by sea stone chains, waiting to be sent to Marineford for final disposal. Chapter 77 The Ugly Face of the Knights of God. With the Golden Lion defeated and captured, the entire war came to an end. Looking at the devastated battlefield, everyone sighed in their hearts. The Marines were dead and injured. Even though most of the pirates in East Blue were surrounded and suppressed, the price they paid was unimaginable. But in comparison, they had already made a lot of money. After all, they were encircling and suppressing more than half of the pirates in the entire East Blue. In normal times, it would be difficult to do so without using up half of Marineford's troops. And this time the pirates did not run around in disorder as before. It was a coincidence that all the pirates gathered together and happened to enter their encirclement. Although this mission to rescue Charma Kushung was unsuccessful, for Marine, everything was worth it. Just as he was about to return, 5 people from the Knights of God stopped a few people, looked at them coldly and said, "World Government Order. No return is allowed now, and troops are immediately sent out to find the escaping Dawn, the Revolutionary Army, red hair traces of pirates. There must be no mistake." Hearing the voice of the Knights of God, he clenched his fists, looked at the many wounded who were seriously injured and in urgent need of treatment, and said, "Marine is too seriously injured this time, and there are still many pirates who need to be escorted back to Marineford. What do you think? The pursuit trail mentioned will be carried out after we return." The 5 members of the Knights of God obviously did not expect he to refute them, and their eyes became even more unkind. They scolded. "Just the wounded will die if they die. Their families will naturally be compensated afterwards. Now gather all available troops and immediately search for their traces. After a while and let them escape completely. Can you take the responsibility?" Another member of the Knights of God even sneered. "Capturing these weak pirates will cause you to lose so many troops. What a bunch of waste." The Marine generals who heard the Knights of God scolding around them felt a little dissatisfied, and some even felt like flames were shooting out of their eyes. He, who was usually not very angry, now had veins popping up on his forehead, and his whole body was trembling. Seeing this, Guon quickly supported the crane, and at the same time looked at the Knights of God angrily. This scene just happened to be seen by the 2 Knights of God who attacked Lin Chen with a kainu. Thinking of the scene in which Guon attacked Lin Chen without knowing his strength but had his sword taken away, the anger in their hearts also burst out. "What are you looking at, you loser? If you hadn't sent Madara a knife at that time, you wouldn't have failed to capture him. If you don't have the strength, you still like to rush in front, why don't you die in his hands? Marine has this kind of thing like you trash is so sad. You guy, are you looking for death?" Guon drew his long sword and looked at the 2 people talking coldly, with the intention of taking action if they disagreed. "How dare a loser take a knife at me?" The 2 men were not afraid, and they were swearing a lot, as if they wanted to blame Marine for the failure of the mission. The other 3 people seemed to have thought of this, and they all accused Marine. "Why did we disperse our forces to capture the pirates? Are the pirates more important than the murderers of celestial dragons? If these vice admirals are not sent out, they will definitely be captured. It's all because of your Marine's poor performance this time that the mission failed." The 5 people talked more and more enthusiastically, and their hearts gradually became balanced. It seemed that it was Marine's cowardice that led to the failure of this mission. This way they can take less punishment when they return to Mariejois and let Marine take the main blame for this failure. Finally, the 5 of them looked at the crane in front of them arrogantly and gave instructions. "Leave these injured Marines here, and the others will immediately catch the clues of the murderer. Maybe this way I can still say something nice in front of the 5 elders. Sentence, otherwise, hum." Everyone present heard the threat in the words of the 5 people, but they had to do it. As Marine's direct superiors, world government has no right or ability to resist, they can only follow orders. Kizaru's glasses lit up with white light, and the usually lewd expression gradually disappeared from his face. The same was true for Aokiji at this time. He would never give up on the injured Marines no matter what. Akainu looked at the 2 colleagues beside him and lowered his hat to cover his eyes so that his expression could not be seen clearly. But he was the first Marine admiral to come out and express his opinion. At this time, he had many more injuries than Kizaru and Aokiji. "It's not hurt Marine. Come with me." The 5 Knights of God looked at Akainu with satisfaction. This is what a Marine admiral should look like, not like the other 2. Seeing that the remaining Marines were unmoved, the 5 members of the Knights of God frowned and scolded. "Why are you still standing there? Akainu has already gone. Why don't you hurry up and move?" Flying Squirrel, Ghost Spider, Doberman and others looked at each other and looked at Akainu who had already activated the warship to leave. They also left here with their own soldiers. Focusing on the battlefield, they began to look around for clues about Lin Chen and the others. In the end, only a few Marine generals such as Suru, Guon, Garp, Aokiji, and Kizaru were left, as well as more Marine soldiers who were injured and unable to move. Bojiu was lying in the shadows with her belly covered. She was unfortunately attacked by someone during the capture of the pirates, resulting in a knife wound that penetrated her abdomen. Now she only had simple measures to stop the bleeding. She still wanted to be cured. "We'll have to wait until we get back to Logue Town." But looking at the confrontation scene in front of her, she knew that she might not be able to survive it. What she is more worried about now is the injured Marine soldiers, some of whom are already dying. If they do not receive treatment, they will die. While she was still worried about the fate of these Marines, she heard a chilling word. "Marine and the world government don't need waste. Since you are unwilling to do anything, I will help you send that waste away." When Bojiu came back to her senses, she saw a member of the Knights of God walking towards her, and his palms slowly turned black. "It's so shameful that you can get injured in this kind of battle." The man was sarcastic and did not stop moving his hands. He raised his palms high and stabbed Bojiu. Bojiu looked at the coming attack in front of her with despair. She closed her eyes and waited for death to come. Ding. You guys. I've had enough of you. Guion's eyes exuded strong killing intent, and a long sword struck the palm of the knight, helping Haoju to block the blow. Chapter 78 The differences between each other. Advertise here. Guion's action made the ice in Aokiji's hands dissipate a lot, and also made many marines present feel relieved. And the wounded also had a flash of warmth in their hearts, so it seemed that General Marine would not give up on them. Seeing that their attack was being resisted, the Knights of God's face became very ugly. Damn it! A mere Vice Admiral dares to attack me. As soon as he finished speaking, Garp appeared behind the Knights of God, exuding a strong aura. Why, I'm also a Vice Admiral. All Marines here are heroes, not dogs like you who just wag their tails at their masters. The Knights of God looked at Garp with murderous intent in their eyes, but they hesitated to take action and could only stare at Garp with their eyes. At the same time, Aokiji also came behind Garp, with a clear warning in his eyes. The Knights of God knew that they would not say anything if they dumped the blame on Marine 5 elders, but if they had a fight with Marine now, they would definitely be reprimanded miserably. And with Garp and Aokiji Kizaru here, they may not be able to take advantage. Because of this, a few people could only look at Garp and the others angrily, but they were extremely afraid to take action against them. In the distance, he also talked to Sengoku on the phone, and the reply he got was just as he expected: don't give up on the injured Marine, but don't get too stalemate with the world government. After thinking about it, he walked out and said, we will send 2 admirals, Akainu and Kizaru, to lead the uninjured Marines to search for clues. Aokiji will take the remaining Marines back and do our best to treat the injured. The 5 members of the Knights of God looked at each other. For now, this is all they can do. After talking to the 5 elders, several people left here one after another. They are just loyal dogs raised by a group of world governments. Before leaving, Guion's moderate voice reached several people's ears, making their faces even more gloomy. They were already thinking about how to discredit Marine when they went back. But in fact, the 5 elders were also watching the live broadcast of this battle. They knew whether it was a success or a failure, and Sengoku would not let the Knights of God pass the blame to Marine. After the Knights of God left, the atmosphere at the scene relaxed a lot. Aokiji Kizaru also knew their missions and took action one after another. Garp said to Crane on the side, Guion and I will also go search in that direction and meet up at Logue Town later. As he spoke, he drove the warship towards the Windmill Village, accompanied by Guion. The purpose of the 2 of them was self-evident. At this time in Windmill Village, Lin Chen and others also acted quickly. Shanks was preparing to leave Windmill Village with the Red Hair Pirates, and Lin Chen also rushed to say goodbye. Shanks, see you in the new world. Shanks waved his hand and said with a bitter smile, how dare I appear in the eyes of Marine and world government now? Let me go to Hokage first to avoid the limelight. Lin Chen was stunned after hearing this, smiled and said, be careful on the road. If you see Eagle Eye, say hello to me. Shanks waved his hand and immediately led everyone out of the port. Luffy and the other children kept waving to Yuta. They had formed a deep friendship in the past few days, and Yuta stood on the bow of the boat and looked at them with great reluctance. Shanks looked at Yuta, who was about to cry, touched her head and comforted her. We will meet again in the future. Yuta wiped away the tears that were about to fall and nodded heavily. She also looks forward to the day when she can meet everyone again. In Windmill Village, when Lin Chen watched Shanks' boat gradually turn into a small black dot in the distance and finally disappear, he couldn't help but feel empty in his heart. Just after saying goodbye to Shanks, Long came to Lin Chen to say goodbye. I have to leave too. The Revolutionary Army has been staying in East Blue for a while, and they must leave now. Lin Chen looked at Luffy and the others beside him and said, do you want to take the children away? You won't be able to come back for a few years after leaving. Long laughed loudly and said, why should a man be obsessed with the love of his children? When we complete the career in our hearts, it will naturally be the time for us to get together. Glancing at Luffy and others, Long continued, Sabo and I have already discussed that he will return to the Revolutionary Army headquarters with us. He is very interested in our ideas, and it is too dangerous to be around you. I will take him back, and I can train him well. Several people looked at Sabo in surprise, wondering why he made this decision. Sabo scratched his head and felt a little embarrassed, and said, Uncle Long taught me a lot of ideas, and I also want to make my own contribution to the people at the bottom. Both Luffy and Ace looked at Sabo in disbelief, and Luffy quickly tried to dissuade him. Sabo. We obviously had a lot of fun together, why do you want to leave with Dad? Isn't it a good idea to stay? Sabo smiled bitterly and shook his head, and said, Luffy, my strength is too weak. Your father is very strong. Ace, your uncle is also very strong. You all have people you can rely on, but I can only rely on myself. I must become stronger. Lin Chen and Long looked at Sabo and felt very happy, but also a little distressed. Sabo, you can rely on us at any time, and we treat you like a junior. Sabo smiled after hearing Lin Chen's words. Thank you Uncle Lin Chen and Uncle Long, but following Uncle Long back is a decision I made after thinking about it for a long time. Seeing Sabo's determination, Lin Chen didn't say anything more, but Luffy and Ace's faces were visibly disappointed. Long looked at the two of them and smiled. If you two also train well, I will bring Sabo back to see you. The two of them immediately became excited after hearing Long's words, looking forward to seeing each other in the future. After checking that it was already getting late, Long said to Lin Chen, I'll take Sabo away first. We'll see you later. Remember to tell old man Garp and tell him not to worry about me. Lin Chen punched Long on the chest and said with a smile, Old man Garp, why are you worried about you? Leave quickly, otherwise you won't be able to leave later. Long smiled, patted Lin Chen's shoulder and took Sabo to fly high into the sky. As a breeze blew by, the two of them disappeared. Watching the people around him leave one after another, Lin Chen did not spend time saying goodbye to his sorrow. They would naturally meet again in the future, and before that, he had to do his own thing well. Luffy and others returned to Dayton's home, and Crocodile also packed his luggage. After taking a look at everyone who was almost ready, Lin Chen also knew that it was time to leave. Brother, are you leaving? Take me with you. Hearing Perona's words, Lin Chen touched her head and said, When my brother comes back, I will take you with him. It's too dangerous outside now. Then he looked at Luffy and Ace and said, You two, listen carefully to Aunt Dayton and Perona. If I come back next time and hear them complaining to me, you two should be careful. Have you eaten fried pork with bamboo shoots? Without. Upon hearing Lin Chen's words, Ace and Luffy were both frightened, and they patted their chests and promised that they would listen to what they said. After doing all this, Lin Chen led everyone to the port, where Rayleigh and others were already ready. Dayton carried a large bag of oranges and forced them into Lin Chen's hands. It's a long journey, eat more fruits and don't get sick. Lin Chen smiled and accepted the orange. When he was about to set sail, Garp's dog-headed warship appeared in the distance. Seeing this, Lin Chen decided to let Rayleigh and others leave first, while he left the Flying Thunder God Warlock on the ship. Can catch up. Chapter 79 Resurrection Rouge. Advertise here. In order not to attract attention, Garp parked the warship far away, and he and Guon walked on the moonwalk to the windmill village. Boy, are you leaving? Lin Chen. Lin Chen glanced at the two of them and smiled. If I don't leave, why don't I go back to Marine? The two fell silent, not knowing what to say for a while. Lin Chen knew that time waits for no one, so he looked at Garp and said, Brother Long has already taken the first step. He asked you not to worry about him. Garp waved his hands after hearing Lin Chen's words. Who cares about him? As long as he doesn't die outside, that's fine. The corner of Lin Chen's mouth twitched slightly, and he looked at Luffy and continued, I'll leave you with the 3 children. Luffy ate devil fruit, remember not to let him go to the beach to play. Garp looked at Luffy in surprise and became curious about Luffy's abilities. After touching Ace's head, Lin Chen looked at Garp's face becoming serious and asked his most important question. Old man Garp, do you know where Roger's body was? Garp looked at him with some confusion and said, What do you want Roger's body for? Are you going to help him build a grave? Lin Chen shook his head and said, You also know that now I have reached a point of no return. Facing the world government, Roger is a very good helper. Everyone present was a little confused. Garp said, Roger is dead. How can he help you? Lin Chen glanced around, lowered his head and said to Ace, Do you want to see Mom? Hearing Lin Chen's words, Ace showed a trace of confusion in his eyes. Isn't Mom dead? Lin Chen looked at Ace and said, Just say whether you want it or not. After hesitating for a moment, Ace said, I want to. A slight smile appeared on Lin Chen's lips, and he took out a small bottle in his hand, which contained some unknown items. Lin Chen came to an unobtrusive place and motioned for the people around him to spread out. Summoning technique. Impure world reincarnation. A burst of white smoke floated out, countless complex warlocks appeared on the ground, and then a coffin broke out of the ground. Everyone looked at this scene and was speechless, and seemed to have guessed that this was Lin Chen's method. Could it be? Combined with what Lin Chen said before, Garp was shocked in his eyes, looking at the coffin and becoming curious about the identity of the person inside. Boom. The coffin lid fell heavily to the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Cough. Cough. There was a female coughing sound coming from the coffin, which made people look at her. When the smoke cleared, Garp's eyes widened at the face of the man in front of him. And when Lin Chen looked at this familiar face, various memories of the past flashed through his eyes. The person he resurrected was none other than his sister Rouge. Rouge stepped out of the coffin, glanced around and found only one somewhat familiar person, Garp, and she was also confused. Garp, why are you here? I remember. Could it be? The worst thoughts flashed through his mind, and Rouge's face darkened. Sister. A deep male voice attracted Rouge's attention, and he also felt a bit familiar. Sister Rouge. When Rouge saw Lin Chen's face clearly, she found that he was more and more similar to her brother. When she heard Lin Chen's call, her eyes suddenly widened. Lin Chen. Lin Chen's eyes turned red when he heard Rouge shouting his name. Then he brought Ace to Rouge like a child who wanted to be praised. Sister, this is Ace, I did it, I protected Ace very well. Rouge glanced at Ace. This 10-year-old boy was actually his son Ace. But when she looked at Lin Chen's now much more mature and steady face, her heart trembled. Gently touching Lin Chen's face, Lin Chen felt Rouge's touch, his nose felt sore, and warm tears fell on Rouge's hand. Silly brother, you have worked hard for so many years. Hugging Lin Chen in his arms, Rouge also cried. Lin Chen was held in Rouge's arms, but he didn't feel any warmth at all. Rouge's body surface turned into confetti flying everywhere from time to time. Wiping away tears, Lin Chen pulled Ace to his side and said, "This is your mother, Rouge." Ace looked at the woman in front of him. Although she was unfamiliar, he could see a strong maternal love in her eyes. This was a look that Ace had never seen before. The natural connection between mother and son made Ace put down his guard against Rouge at the first sight. Rouge looked at the little boy in front of her and gently held him in her arms. Even though she didn't hear Ace calling his mother, she could see that Ace was already satisfied. Being held in Rouge's arms, Ace's hand hesitated for a long time before gently hugging Rouge. This made Rouge's body tremble, and then he hugged Ace tighter. Lin Chen, what's going on? Garp's words pulled Lin Chen out of his memories. Lin Chen looked at the mother and son hugging each other in front of him and said, "It's just a way to resurrect the dead. As long as there is the organization of the deceased, I can resurrect him." After hearing Lin Chen's words, everyone present was shocked. Resurrecting the dead is such a terrible method. After taking a look at everyone, Lin Chen said, "This is not a resurrection in the true sense. Sister Rouge's body does not even have a trace of warmth. It can be seen as summoning the dead, but they will still dissipate after being affected by some factors." Everyone understood a lot after hearing Lin Chen's words, but they were still shocked. No matter how long it lasts, just resurrecting the dead is already enviable to others. After all, there are a few people in everyone's heart who can never meet again. Rouge on the side also heard Lin Chen's explanation. She didn't know how Lin Chen did it, but even Garp was shocked. She estimated that Lin Chen was now very powerful. She didn't feel proud, she just felt distressed. Even when she and Roger were together, she never heard Roger say that anyone in the world could have such a method, but Lin Chen was able to do it, and he must have suffered a lot in it. Garp and Rouge looked at each other, a little confused. Rouge looked at Lin Chen and said, "I am very satisfied to be able to see you again in this way. Lin Chen, don't force yourself." Lin Chen didn't say anything when he heard Rouge's words. Ace's eyes slowly turned red. He had a mother. Although they only met for a short time, Rouge already had a pivotal position in Ace's heart. "Sister Rouge, don't worry, sooner or later I will really resurrect you." Rouge fell silent after hearing Lin Chen's words. Who wouldn't want to be resurrected again? Being able to live well with her son is what every mother wants. Then you want Roger's body. Garp also understood the reason why Lin Chen wanted Roger's body and resurrected Roger. "That's right, I want to resurrect Roger." Lin Chen's firm voice declared his determination, which also made Rouge and Ace tremble in their hearts. Can Roger really be resurrected? Chapter 80 Parting. Roger's body is still being kept by the world government, but it may be very difficult to take it out. Garp touched his head and felt a little troubled. This was a very difficult thing to do, and it was difficult even for him to do it. Hearing Garp's words, Lin Chen frowned. It would be okay if Roger's body was with Marine, but if it was with world government, it would be very difficult to get it. After thinking about it, Lin Chen said, "Since it's with the world government, let's forget it for now. I will get it back in person one day." Putting this topic aside for the time being, Lin Chen looked at Rouge and said, "Sister Rouge, I'm leaving. You can just stay here. You can make it up to him with Ace these days." Brumuru. The phone bug in Garp's arms rang, and so did Crane's voice. "Garp, have you found any clues? If not, come back. The sea is too vast, and their whereabouts are even more elusive. There is no use in searching any further. We have to rush back to report the results." Garp said, "I know, I'll go back right away." The scene was a little quiet for a while, and everyone knew that it was time to say goodbye. Guon, who had been silent, came over at this time, and everyone left the place appropriately to make room for the two of them. Before leaving, Rouge looked at Guon with a strange expression. It was not until everyone explained to Rouge that she understood the relationship between the two. She put on an anti-smile on her face and looked at the two of them from time to time. "Guon-sama, Before Lin Chen could finish speaking, his mouth was already blocked by Guon. As if he wanted to integrate Lin Chen into his body, Guon's hands held Lin Chen harder and harder. Lin Chen changed from being passive at the beginning to becoming active, and both of them hugged each other tightly. "Lin Chen, don't disappear again." Guon's words rang in Lin Chen's ears, and Lin Chen's heart skipped a beat. Guon's words continued to ring out. "Promise me to live a good life. I will always be waiting for you, waiting for the wedding." Lin Chen's expression showed a hint of sadness when he heard Guon's words, but it immediately turned into determination. "I promise you, after everything is settled, I will definitely marry you." Guon smiled after hearing Lin Chen's words. "I will become stronger. I will also help you." Hearing Guon's words, Lin Chen's lips showed a smile. The two hugged each other for a long time, and finally separated reluctantly. Looking at everyone, Lin Chen also said goodbye. Guon-san, Garp-san, Rouge-san, everyone. I'm leaving. There was still a hint of warmth in Guion's empty arms, but this time she also had new support in her heart. She will work hard in that direction just to stand side by side with Lin Chen and face the difficulties he encounters together. Taking one last look at everyone, although the time was short, Lin Chen was already very satisfied. Wearing a black robe and a mask, Lin Chen finally disappeared into a forest. The people who were left standing there were still staring blankly at his leaving figure, not knowing when they would see each other again next time. On the way to leave, Lin Chen was also thinking about one thing: Sister Rouge's maintaining form. After his experiments in the past few years, and after raising Impure World reincarnation to the full level, he also discovered some interesting things. Even if the character he summons is far away, he can still feel the slightest trace of it. As long as he does not take the initiative to cancel it, Rouge can continue to live. And it has the characteristic of continuous rebirth, which means that as long as there are no problems here, Sister Rouge can continue to live in Windmill Village. Ace used to ask where his mother was day and night. It wasn't until he grew older that he realized the difference between himself and others and gradually stopped asking. And today, when Ace saw Rouge appearing next to him, especially when Rouge held Ace in his arms, exuding maternal love, Lin Chen could clearly see the joy and tears in Ace's eyes. Lin Chen was also very happy in his heart. He looked forward to the day in the future when he would truly resurrect Sister Rouge, and they would be very happy. When Lin Chen and others joined forces with the Revolutionary Army, Red Hair Pirates, and Golden Lion to kill Celestial Dragons Charmacos in East Blue, this piece of information was also discussed at this year's World Summit. World Summit is a meeting where the world government unites the franchised countries to discuss important matters. It is attended by not only the powerful world franchised countries, but also Marine senior executives. It is held every 4 years. Even the Celestial Dragons were executed. What on earth do these thugs want to do? With the dawn of time, they have taken action. Now everyone in the participating countries in the world is in danger. What should we do in the future? Even the Celestial Dragons are ignored. Even if the world government and Marine jointly mobilized so many combat forces, they failed to capture them. Can we resist this group of thugs? There is still an unclear relationship between Dawn and the Revolutionary Army. I'm afraid they will overthrow our regime. You guys hurry up and think of a solution. What should we do now? There were also a few leaders of the franchising countries in the audience whose eyes were different from the others. A middle-aged man with a solemn face coughed and said, "Everyone has watched the live broadcast. What you all care about is the execution of Celestial Dragons. Damn, no one cares about what Madara said." As this person's words fell, the noisy conference room fell silent for a while, and then another burst of noise broke out. Those words are just nonsense. How can they be taken seriously? You didn't hold Li Xiao responsible, but changed the subject. Are you their spy? So what if what they say is good? They are just a group of rebels. After hearing various rebuttals, the middle-aged man looked at this group of people with a flash of ridicule in his eyes. They were just a group of frogs in a well. But he didn't jump out and say anything more, silently listening to everyone's refutation, but what he said was not completely ineffective. At this time, less than half of the people listened and silently thought about the meaning of Lin Chen's words. These people were all leaders of powerful countries. Naturally, they would not look at the problem one-sidedly. Most of the people who speak loudest and want to attract the most attention on the field are the leaders of small countries, are people who have stolen the position of king through some means. None of them realized how shocking what Lin Chen said was. They just wanted to hug the world government's lap and severely criticize Lin Chen, so that they might be able to get the so-called appreciation in front of the 5 elders. Chapter 81 Sky High Bounty. Advertise here. With the end of the East Blue incident, the final result was the arrest of Golden Lion, which dissatisfied the world government and most people in Marine. But daybreak, the Revolutionary Army and the Red Hair Pirates are not ordinary people. It will still take time to capture them, at least the world government and Marine think so. But unlike the world government and Marine, most people in the world are very happy about this matter. Being able to pull the Celestial Dragons who used to be aloof from the altar and cut off life and death at will like animals is a great thing for this group of people at the bottom. It's a very shocking thing. And for a long time, they have also paid heavenly gold to the Celestial Dragons, and many people have lost their lives because of the heavenly gold. Compared with the destruction and plunder caused by pirates, paying the heavenly gold is a real burden on everyone. Even a newborn baby is counted as a head, which is also included in the population that needs to pay the heavenly gold. This also made everyone miserable, especially some of the less wealthy small countries among the participating countries. In order to collect the heavenly gold, the citizens did not even have to eat. As long as they dared to resist, they would only be greeted by brutal suppression by the national army. If you don't pay, you will die. If you pay, you will die. With this way out, people in these countries are not only very angry towards the Celestial Dragons, but also towards the leaders of their own countries. But over the years, under Lin Chen and Long's constant wandering investigations, some of the leaders of these relatively weak franchise countries have been secretly replaced by their people. As for East Blue, although most people think this is a good thing, in this world, powerful talents often determine the right to speak. Judging from the current situation, world government and Marine undoubtedly determine the direction of the world's conversation. Leader of Daybreak, Madara, the most evil man in the world. Unknown ability, with a bounty of 4 billion berries. Member of Daybreak, former vice captain of Pirate King Roger, Pluton Rayleigh. Possessing extremely powerful physical skills, hockey and sword skills, with a bounty of 2 billion. Member of Dawn, Crocodile, Sand Fruit ability user. Bounty of 1.2 billion berries. Member of Daybreak, Thunder God Enel, Thunder Fruit ability user. Bounty of 1 billion berry. Member of Daybreak, Snow Girl Monet, user with Snow Fruit ability. Bounty of 500 million berry. Member of Daybreak, Rosinant, Silence Fruit user. Bounty of 100 million berry. Suspected member of Daybreak, Sugar, Luo, each has a bounty of 250 berry. As the world government issued a new bounty order, it was pretty much what most people expected. After careful calculations, the total bounty amount for the whole Daybreak turned out to be 8.8 billion 500 berries. This figure shocked even the pirate emperors of New World. Lin Chen's bounty was already qualified to be on par with them. But they also watched the live broadcast, and to be honest, if they were to face the same scene and environment as Lin Chen, they might not do as well as Lin Chen. Meanwhile, world government and Marine have also announced bounties for others. Leader of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon. The bounty is 5 billion berry. The leader of the Red Hair Pirates, Red-Haired Shanks. The bounty is 2.2 billion berries. Red Hair Pirates Vice Captain, Ben Beckman. Bounty of 1.5 billion berry. In fact, when Lin Chen's bounty was originally set, many people thought that the 4 billion bounty was a bit low, but the 5 elders did not want Lin Chen's bounty to be too high, which would easily cause panic in the world. Even the original Pirate King Roger's bounty was only over 5 billion. If Lin Chen's bounty is higher than Roger's, does it mean that Lin Chen's impact will be greater? There may be many pirates who want to join Daybreak by then. Although Lin Chen also said during the live broadcast that he would end the era of pirates, who would really believe it? Many people regard this sentence as a way for Lin Chen to increase his influence. Even world government and Marine have not ended the era of great pirates for so many years. Why do you, a new leader of an organization, dare to speak so wildly? On the other hand, world government also wanted to reduce Lin Chen's influence, so it gave a bounty of 4 billion, but everyone knew that as long as Lin Chen continued to do things against world government, the bounty would exceed Roger's in the future. Certain. On this side, Lin Chen had already left Windmill Village on the Daybreak. At this time, he was looking at a map with Rayleigh and several people sitting around him. Glancing at Lin Chen, Rayleigh complained, "We agreed to keep a low profile and my grandson and I lived happily for a while. I didn't expect that you would drag me into a fight before I even covered my buttocks when I came here. Look at what you did. After this incident, can we still be stable in the future?" It seemed that he was like this in the past. Ever since he boarded Roger's pirate ship, there has never been a peaceful day. He was chased by Garp and Marine every day. It was difficult to stop and rest for a while. Lin Chen glanced at Rayleigh and said, "What, do you miss Roger? Do you want to meet him?" After hearing Lin Chen's words, Rayleigh shuddered and waved his hand. "Old man, I still want to live for a few more years. What are you doing with this damn ghost?" Lin Chen smiled when he heard Rayleigh's words. "I really hope you will still look like this when you see him." "Lin Chen, where are we going now?" Crocodile from the side came over and asked. Lin Chen looked at the map in his hand, thought for a while and asked Crocodile. "Lao Sha, what time is it now?" Crocodile counted on his fingers and said, "Let me think about it. In 1 month it will be C-Circle calendar 1511. So fast. Lin Chen was a little shocked when he heard Crocodile's words. Unknowingly, this year has passed again. We set out from the Sabayati archipelago near summer. It took us 2 months to get to East Blue. We stayed in Windmill Village for a while. In the end, what happened again, and now even our new bounty has come out. Tell me how long this took." Lin Chen felt a little sad when he heard Crocodile's words. He looked at the map in his hand and said, "Go to this place." Several people came over and looked at the small spot pointed by Lin Chen. Rayleigh scratched his head. This place seemed familiar. "This is Daughter Island. What are you doing there?" Lin Chen said. "This place is not even under the jurisdiction of the world government. I'm going to see what's going on and see if I can bring it into our camp. I've heard a lot of rumors about this country." As he spoke, he glanced at Rayleigh again, with a playful smile on his face. "Old man Rayleigh, you are old and well informed. Do you have any news about this island?" Rayleigh thought for a while, and finally a woman in her late teens appeared in her mind. "Well, Shaki used to be the master of Daughter's Island, but that was all in the past. There's no point in looking for her. Every master of Daughter's Island is very different. You have to figure out this one. His temper, I remember men are not welcome there. Lin Chen smiled evilly after hearing Rayleigh's words. Men are not welcome. Then how did you trick Aunt Shaki away in the first place? Rayleigh smiled and said shamelessly, what do you mean by lying? She was obsessed with me at the time, and there was nothing I could do about it. Lin Chen chuckled lightly, and no one tried to expose him. After thinking for a while, Lin Chen said, if I remember correctly, the current owner of Daughter Island has already taken office, and it should be Boa Hancock. Chapter 82 The True Purpose of Logia Fruit. Advertise here. Boa Hancock. I seem to be somewhat impressed. After hearing Rayleigh's words, everyone looked at him, waiting for his next words. After thinking about it, Rayleigh looked at Lin Chen and said, this matter is still related to you. When you liberated the slaves, a large number of little girls escaped. Shaki couldn't bear to see them, so we sent them together. Daughter Island. Rolling his eyes, the images of 3 little girls appeared in Lin Chen's mind. There is such a thing. After hearing Lin Chen's words, several people's eyes lit up. Rayleigh said, then this is much simpler. I see that the little doll seems to hate celestial dragons. This is exactly the same as our philosophy. Inviting her to join us is not easy. Lin Chen nodded, touched his chin and said, that's true, but there is one thing I want to remind you. Hancock is a sweet fruit user. You should be careful. Of course, a gentleman like me will not be seduced by the charm. Seeing Lin Chen's serious look, several people looked at him with suspicion. Okay, hurry up and head towards Girl Island. After finishing this, we have to rush to New World. Several people looked at Lin Chen with some confusion. New World, what are you doing there? It's time to settle the score with Doflamingo. Crocodile and the others narrowed their eyes when they heard Doflamingo's name. The incident of being tricked by Doflamingo was still fresh in their minds. If he had just brought snow fruit back, there wouldn't have been a lot of trouble. Rocinante's heart trembled when he heard Lin Chen say that he wanted to liquidate Doflamingo. He was extremely entangled in his heart. On the one hand, he was his own brother, and on the other hand, he had been with Lin Chen for so many years. He didn't know how to face this matter. Lin Chen glanced at Rocinante without saying anything. Doflamingo was involved in something very important to him, and no one could stop him. When the time came to see Circle Calendar 1511, Lin Chen and others had already stayed around Daughter Island for a long time. Originally, everyone arrived 2 weeks ago, but Rayleigh wanted to go back to Sabayati Archipelago to find Shaki, so they had to wait around for his return. It was another sunny day. Lin Chen silently stood on the bow of the boat fishing, and he could still see the appearance of Daughter Island in the distance. After a while, a pirate ship sailed out from Daughter Island and headed straight towards Lin Chen. When the boat arrived in front of Lin Chen, it was all filled with women. They all looked at Lin Chen with a fierce light in their eyes, but they all looked like they were 18 or 19 years old. They looked fierce. Although they all know that the masked guy in front of them is Madara, the legendary leader of Daybreak, they are not afraid of Lin Chen in their hearts because Lin Chen killed the celestial dragons that they all hate so much, but they are daughters after all. As a member of the island, you still need to act according to the rules. This is the 9 Snakes Pirates. Men are not allowed to enter Girls Island. Please leave. Lin Chen scratched his ears and didn't care. They said the same thing a few days ago. I haven't entered Daughter Island, why are you nervous? Stay away from my ship. Do you still want to be like yesterday? Hearing Lin Chen's words, everyone in the 9 Snakes Pirates was frightened. Yesterday, because they were too close to Lin Chen's boat, all the fish that Lin Chen managed to catch ran away. This made Lin Chen greatly disappointed, and he directly released Enel to electrocute the fish. The thunder light surrounded everyone in the 9 Snakes Pirates, which frightened the children. Looking straight at the sea, Lin Chen was now highly focused because the target he was fishing for today was Sea Kings. A huge shadow swam across the sea, always surrounding it as if it saw Lin Chen's bait. The bait was Sea Kings controlled by Lin Chen. It was swimming weakly in the sea, with a piece of fish attached to its tail. The long branches reached to Lin Chen's hands. Viewed from a high place, the Sea Kings looked hundreds of meters long, but Lin Chen's bait was not small, it was also a Sea Kings of over 100 meters. This scene also attracted everyone from the 9 Snakes Pirates. Both groups of people looked at the Sea Kings at the bottom of the sea carefully, expecting that he would take the bait. However, the Sea Kings seemed to have wisdom and would test the bait from time to time. This made Lin Chen's heart itch and he almost gave up several times. Boom. Just as everyone was concentrating, they saw the Sea King stretching out its huge tail and slamming the bait onto the sea surface, while giving Lin Chen a playful look. Obviously, this Sea Kings already has an IQ that is no less than that of a human being, and can clearly see the traps involved. The bait landed on the sea, causing huge waves to hit Lin Chen, and also made the girls of the 9 Snakes pirate group opposite get wet. Lin Chen could only think of the teasing eyes of the Sea Kings at the moment. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, and in the end he jumped into the sea alone in front of everyone. This scene shocked everyone in the 9 Snakes Pirates and became a little worried. Why can't that person think about jumping into the sea? Although he looks quite hateful, he is the hero who killed the celestial dragons after all. Do you want to save him? What are we worried about? Look at what his companions are doing now. Why are they starting a fire? At this time, Crocodile and Enel had already set up the fire. In order to prevent the ship from being too small, Crocodile spread out his own sand and floated it in the air. A long desert staircase follows the boat to the top. The fine sand feels great to the touch, even more comfortable than a natural beach. Naturally, the deck chairs prepared by everyone are indispensable here. The weather today is also very good, suitable for sunbathing. Enel took out the spare wood that Lin Chen had put in the warehouse and quickly set up a barbecue grill. A flash of lightning flashed and the bonfire was lit. Little sugar, go get Uncle's favorite beer. I want it frozen. Uncle will grill you some meat later. Crocodile greeted Granu, and when he heard that there was barbecue to be eaten, Granu stumbled to Monet's room with a beer. Sister. Freeze. Monet walked out of the room and looked at the group of people and raised his forehead. Do you still have the demeanor of a strong man? Is this how the Logia fruit is used? Although she thought so, she still froze the beer, along with her and Sugar's favorite orange juice. Sage art. Gulu. Gulu. Wood style. Gulu. Gulu. The tree realm is coming. The seabed was so lively at this time. When the Sea Kings saw Lin Chen jumping into the sea alone, they thought there was something wrong with Lin Chen's brain, and they wanted to eat Lin Chen and treat him. But soon the Sea Kings regretted it. This thing was completely a humanoid beast, and it was extremely fast in the sea. At the same time, countless pieces of wood were chasing it, and it was impossible for him to escape. After a while, Lin Chen's wood tightly wrapped around the Sea Kings and rushed out from the bottom of the sea. Set fire and set fire. Before Lin Chen finished speaking, he saw Crocodile and others waiting for him quietly with tableware. With a black line flashing across his forehead, Lin Chen disintegrated the Sea Kings in the air, leaving only the tenderest meat and sent it to the prepared grill. He has become so good at this kind of thing that he can now tell which parts are delicious with his eyes closed. Among them, there are inevitably some men's gas stations, but they are usually quickly robbed by Lin Chen and others. Monet only treats them as ordinary ingredients and does not think of anything else. Chapter 83, Advance to Daughter Island. Advertise here. When the aroma of the meat emitted, everyone in the Nine Snakes Pirates swallowed their saliva and looked at each other, feeling in a dilemma. What should I do? It smells so good. You have to remember that you are a glorious warrior of the Nine Snakes Pirates, how can you be tempted by these barbecues? But he smells really good. Quote. Lin Chen turned over the roasted meat in his hand, glanced at the Nine Snakes Pirates, and threw a large ball of meat on the side that was not yet roasted. If you want to eat it, bake it yourself. Also, just like yesterday, tell your king that we want to see her. This is also the reason why Rayleigh left, and several people were blocked outside without even meeting Hancock. At that time, Lin Chen looked at the group of 18 or 19-year-old girls in front of him. Many of them were the ones he personally rescued when he liberated the slaves. After thinking about it, he didn't force his way in. He was here to discuss cooperation, not here to cause trouble. It was at this time that Rayleigh thought of Shaki and volunteered to go back and ask her for help. He had been gone for half a month, and it was almost time to come back. Looking at the Sea King's meat sent by Lin Chen, many members of the Nine Snakes pirate group swallowed their saliva. Sister, go back and inform the king first. They have been here for half a month, and they are quite sincere. Yes. Besides, they gave us such a big ball of meat from Sea Kings. This kind of food is rare. We usually only eat some small fish and shrimps. The members of the Nine Snakes Pirates discussed for a while, and finally left here silently. By the way, they also took away a piece of roasted meat from Lin Chen, euphemistically calling it a gift for the king. Lin Chen didn't bother to care about this. Even if they didn't report it, they would still be able to enter Daughter's Island when Rayleigh came back. It smells so good. It seems like I'm back at the right time. As soon as the members of the Nine Snakes Pirates left, Rayleigh came out of an unknown mess all wet. Lin Chen frowned and looked around, thinking repeatedly about where this guy came from. Wow, there is also my favorite tonic food. You guys are so thoughtful and know that I keep it for the bad old man. I have been exhausted for the past half month. You have no idea that I spent a lot of money just to invite Shaki. How many precious things. After saying that, he rubbed his waist, strode to the barbecue grill, and quickly reached for the unknown meat on the side. Time lag. Although his mind was still thinking about where Rayleigh came from, Lin Chen's attention was always looking at the barbecue grill. Seeing that Rayleigh didn't show martial ethics and took advantage of no one's attention to get it, he had no choice but to be more ruthless. When everything returned to normal, the piece of meat was no longer in front of Rayleigh's eyes. Rubbing his eyes, Rayleigh looked at the grill with some confusion. Where's the meat here? Everyone shook their heads, but Lin Chen didn't say anything and just shook his head. Looking at Lin Chen's bulging corners of his mouth, the crocodile people's brows jumped. How could this guy be so shameless? Monet stared at this scene blankly, and suddenly blushed with embarrassment. No wonder every time Lin Chen caught Sea Kings, some of the meat would be snatched away by these people before she even had a chance to taste it. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be. While thinking about it, Monet unconsciously glanced at Lin Chen. When his eyes swept over a certain place, his whole body suddenly turned red, and steam came out of his head from time to time. Monet, Monet, what are you thinking about? She cursed herself secretly in her heart, but she couldn't hide the girl's eagerness for love. After everyone finished carving up the Sea King's barbecue, Lin Chen picked his teeth and asked Rayleigh. Old man Rayleigh, didn't Aunt Shaki come back with you? Rayleigh burped and said, she is going directly to Daughter Island. Someone will come to pick us up then. As soon as he finished speaking, the same ship as before sailed out of Daughter Island in the distance. If you look carefully, it is still the same group of people. When everyone in the Nine Snakes Pirates came to Lin Chen again, they all looked at each other in awe. They were secretly eating barbecue on the boat. After eating, they were preparing to knock out another piece of barbecue, and then go to help Lin Chen and others with errands. But they didn't expect that someone would come over soon to inform them, asking them to invite Lin Chen and others over. Please be careful. This shocked everyone in the Nine Snakes Pirates. In all these years, they had never seen anyone worthy of such a huge effort on the Daughter Island. What's more, the other party is still a male. This is a very ridiculous thing on the Daughter's Island where men are not allowed to enter. But because of this, these people became curious about Lin Chen and the others. Is it because Lin Chen and the Dawn he led dared to resist the world government and kill the celestial dragons in front of people all over the world? Lin Chen looked at the members of the Nine Snakes Pirates jokingly, and could even see a trace of greasiness from the corners of their mouths. King of Daughter's Island, Boa Hancock invites you. Please come to the island to gather together. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he looked at these eating cats, which made everyone in the Nine Snakes Pirates feel a little embarrassed. Lin Chen didn't care about them, they were just a group of children, and he just wanted to tease them. Let's go. Lead the way. The members of the Nine Snakes Pirates took Lin Chen and others to the Daughter Island. As expected by Lin Chen, there were all women here, and there was not a single man in sight. The residents on the island also looked at Lin Chen and the others curiously. There were not many outsiders coming to the island, let alone men. This was an unprecedented event. Who had the ability to invite the king personally? Soon, Lin Chen and others arrived at the king's palace of Daughter's Island, where senior officials of Daughter's Island had already gathered. Before Lin Chen and the others could get closer, they heard a crisp sound. Aunt Shaki, you don't have to be like this. At first, we always thought that you had encountered an accident. Now it is fate that we can meet again, and you are still our savior. I also want to see what abilities such a powerful person who can be praised by you actually has. It's not like I haven't watched his live broadcast, but I still have to get close contact before I can be sure. I don't want to leave the future of Daughter's Island in the hands of an outsider. Chapter 84 The Unruly and Willful Hancock. The guards outside the door quickly noticed Lin Chen and the others, and said loudly, "Welcome, distinguished guests. Please come in." As the voice sounded, the sounds in the palace suddenly stopped, all whispers disappeared, and the entire palace became silent. Lin Chen strode in quickly, and everyone followed Lin Chen's steps closely. As soon as he entered the palace, Lin Chen saw a cold-looking woman sitting on the main seat, crossing her legs and looking at him with interest. Although his appearance and figure had changed somewhat, Lin Chen recognized this person at a glance. It was Hancock. Today, Hancock is just 20 years old. He has a tall figure of nearly 2 meters. He has an excellent figure. He has long black hair styled in a G style, a slightly wider forehead and a smooth flat face. He has dark blue eyes with slender and delicate corners and almond-shaped eyes. There was a bit of coldness in his eyes, his nose was high and small, and his lips were so soft without any wrinkles. But at this time, she was running around Lin Chen's body with aggressive eyes, which made Lin Chen feel like there were ants crawling on his body. Lin Chen frowned, a little confused in his heart. Why haven't they seen each other for several years? How did that immature girl turn into such a delinquent girl? Do you need to train yourself properly to avoid Hancock suffering from this kind of temper in the future? Before Lin Chen could speak, Hancock said, "First time meeting you, Madara. I have watched your live broadcast. You are a very powerful man who dares to challenge the majesty of the world government and kill the celestial dragons in front of everyone. I admire you very much for this." Glancing at Rayleigh beside Lin Chen, Hancock continued, "The reason why I haven't seen you before is because you are now the most wanted criminals in the world government. I don't want you to bring disaster to Daughter Island, but since Rayleigh the husband and Aunt Shaki showed up, and this made me change my attention, so tell me, what is the purpose of your visit?" Looking at Hancock, Lin Chen was also a little surprised. This strong and arrogant temper was so different from the Hancock of many years ago. There was a faint conqueror's aura on Hancock, but Hancock hadn't noticed it yet. But thinking of his purpose, Lin Chen bowed slightly and said, "I came here to find like-minded companions. I wonder if Mr. Hancock intends to join forces with me to face the world government." Lin Chen's straight-to-the-point statement caused the senior officials of the Daughter Kingdom in the palace to talk a lot. Fighting the world government, isn't that crazy? If he wants to die, let him go. World government is not something we can mess with. Although I killed the celestial dragons in front of the whole world, I didn't notice that they themselves fled in a hurry. Even the golden lion was left behind. Being able to abandon your friends, it seems that these guys are not good people. Listening to the discussion in the palace, the corners of Lin Chen's mouth twitched slightly. These aunts who didn't know the truth could only make wild guesses. When they were about to speak, someone spoke before him. Shut up. Me. Hancock's loud voice echoed in the palace, shutting up the aunts who had been talking about it. After saying all this, Hancock looked at Lin Chen, who was wearing a mask, and said, "Do you think you are powerful for killing celestial dragons?" Lin Chen was a little confused, but still shook his head and said, "I don't understand what you mean." Hancock glanced at Lin Chen and said, "What I mean is that you don't think that you are powerful just because you kill the celestial dragons. Although you are very powerful and courageous, you cannot fight against the world government by relying on people like you. I admit that you had the upper hand in that live broadcast, but the strength shown by world government and Marine was less than half, but you showed all your cards. So I don't think you have the strength to fight against world government. Please come back." Crocodile beside Lin Chen frowned and stood up and said, "Hey. Your condescending attitude is very annoying. Even killing celestial dragons is not considered powerful. Who can do it in front of me in 800 years? Execution of celestial dragons all over the world. It's not the fault of Crocodile being angry, Hancock's appearance really made him angry. If Lin Chen hadn't said in advance not to use force, he would have taken action long ago. At the same time, several other people also looked at Lin Chen with some confusion. Hancock's temper was different from what Lin Chen had described to them at the beginning. His gentleness revealed tenacity, full of courage, and a strong sense of self-esteem and responsibility. How could he see it now? She is a very unruly and willful bad girl. Hancock was not angry when he heard Crocodile's words, and said, "Don't use your narrow vision to measure the world I have seen. It's just a celestial dragons who died. You don't know that someone can do better than your leader Madara." Quote. Lin Chen's face looked a little strange when he heard Hancock's words. He had lived for such a long time and had been a high-level executive in Marine. Nowadays, the news network is all over the world, but he has never heard of anyone killing celestial dragons, except of course. Rocks decades ago still had this possibility. Could it be that Hancock was talking about rocks? Lin Chen didn't feel in his heart that the news about rocks was concealed by the world government and Marine together. Only a few people knew about it. How did Daughter Island, which had always been closed to information, know about it? As if he thought of a possibility, Lin Chen's expression suddenly froze, and others seemed to have thought of this too, and they all looked at Lin Chen's back. We are just talking about the possibility that Hancock is talking about Lin Chen who liberated the slaves many years ago. Lin Chen went on a killing spree in Mariejois and killed 7 celestial dragons. Moreover, Lin Chen also gave Hancock a chance to kill the celestial dragons. Perhaps in Hancock's view, Lin Chen, who once saved her from fire and water, was much more powerful than the current Madara. As if to confirm the doubts in his heart, Lin Chen asked, "I wonder what you are talking about." He is. Hancock suddenly looked stunned. Yes, the big brother who saved her didn't tell her his name. He just said that they would meet again one day in the future, but Hancock has not seen him yet. And at the beginning, the world government only spread the news that the fish man Tiger had liberated the slaves. After returning to Daughter Island, she also saw Tiger's portrait, which was completely different from the big brother before. This resulted in her now only remembering the appearance of the eldest brother, but not knowing his identity at all. Marine and the world government teamed up to conceal and seal all information about Lin Chen. This left Hancock, who later became emperor, without a clue to find information about his eldest brother, and ultimately left the matter unsolved. After taking a look at Lin Chen and others, Hancock's expression returned to normal and said, "Who knows what your plans are? I don't want you to disturb him, so I won't tell you." Chapter 85 Night Attack Hancock's Bedroom. After hearing Hancock's answer, Lin Chen confirmed in her heart that she was probably talking about herself back then. It's just that she didn't tell her name at the time, which meant that she couldn't tell her now and could only find some excuse to fool her. Thinking of this, Lin Chen did not expose her and said, "In that case, I hope I can meet the strong man you mentioned in the future. But I still hope you will seriously consider what I said." After glancing around at the aunts around him, Lin Chen's words suddenly became sharp. "Although world government and Marine's trump cards were not used up at the beginning, do you think we don't have any trump cards?" After speaking and looking at Hancock, Lin Chen burst out with a surge of momentum and angrily yelled at the aunts around him, "Don't use your narrow vision to measure our true strength at daybreak." Hearing Lin Chen's words, the aunties around them all looked frightened and did not dare to say anything. Lin Chen said this just because he didn't want these idiots to speculate on the dawn at will. Don't forget that their current strength is far superior to that of Number Island. The strong naturally have the dignity of the strong, but the weak relationship between Rayleigh and Shaki, and Lin Chen and Hancock made Lin Chen change his usual methods and choose a relatively mild method. But this also made these aunts feel a little arrogant, putting Li Xiao on the same level as them, and their words also showed some disrespect for them. Sitting on the high platform, Hancock felt Lin Chen's explosive momentum and became a little more serious, but he still looked lazy and arrogant. "I know your suggestion, so how about this? Please go back for now. I will give you an accurate answer tomorrow. Having said so much, Hancock only gave both parties a step down, and he did it for the sake of Shaki and Rayleigh. But in her heart, she still planned to reject them tomorrow. Although what Lin Chen said during the live broadcast really moved her, she was not a fool and would not willingly sell Daughter Island to Dawn with just a few words. The risks were too high for her to bear. Lin Chen was a little helpless after hearing Hancock's words. He also knew that this was just a step, and Hancock would probably be the same tomorrow. This made Lin Chen a little troubled. In the past, when he met such people, he would either persuade them with kindness, such as Doflamingo, or he would not say much nonsense and directly use illusions to control them, such as the leaders of several participating countries. But now facing Hancock, he didn't know what method to use. In that case, let's go back for now. I hope you can change your mind tomorrow. After that, Lin Chen did not stay here longer and left the palace with everyone. Shaki continued to stay here. After all, she was the former leader of the Nine Snakes Pirates. Hancock had a lot of things he wanted to know. And Shaki was also her lifesaver, and Hancock also wanted to thank her. As for why he didn't keep Rayleigh, according to Shaki, Hancock only needed to thank her, and she would take Rayleigh's share with her. In fact, Shaki just didn't want Rayleigh, an old man, to be in the daughter's country. He didn't see Rayleigh glance at the aunts around him from time to time in the palace. This made Shaki, who was secretly observing Rayleigh, keep rising in anger. At this time, he naturally didn't want Rayleigh to stay. Here, I wish he could leave quickly. As soon as they returned to the ship, Crocodile complained to Lin Chen. This Hancock is not like what you said. And we are guests, they don't act like landlords, they even have to come back to our house to live in. What are you doing on the boat? Crocodile's words were unanimously agreed by everyone, who nodded. Lin Chen touched his head in embarrassment and said, I don't know what's going on. She has changed so much after not seeing her for a few years. It may be due to the change of identity. Now she is a daughter of the country. It's understandable that the king and the captain of the Nine Snakes Pirates are a little stronger. Hearing that Lin Chen had vague thoughts of defending Hancock, no one said anything more. Monet curled her lips silently. Today she saw the most beautiful person she had ever seen so far, Hancock. Thinking that Lin Chen was Hancock's lifesaver in the past, but now the two have not recognized each other, but Monet already felt danger in his heart. A woman's intuition tells her that if Lin Chen reveals his identity to Hancock, then she will definitely have another love rival. Arriving at the conference room, everyone looked at Lin Chen and asked, it's not an option to continue like this. She will definitely be the same tomorrow and won't change her mind. Crocodile was a little confused at this time and looked at Lin Chen and asked, do we have to win over them? Why do I feel that their strength is not particularly strong? Hearing Crocodile's words, Lin Chen's face became a little solemn and said, Lao Sha. Don't underestimate the other party just because they think they are weak. Although we are taking the elite route at daybreak, the power of these countries cannot be underestimated. When we can overthrow the rule of the world government, these countries will be the vanguard of establishing a new order. Therefore, we must unite some forces that can be used. Hancock once suffered from the celestial dragons, and he must be full of hatred for the world government. It's just that it's not shown in front of us now. As long as we win over the daughter country, our invisible power will be enriched. Long is also constantly lobbying various countries to set off resistance. A single spark can start a prairie fire. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Crocodile fell silent. He felt a little elated after his strength increased, and he no longer cared about those who were weak. I see. The atmosphere became a little silent. Lin Chen thought for a while and said, don't worry about Hancock, she will change her mind tomorrow. Everyone looked at him with some confusion. Why can you guarantee it now? Lin Chen looked at everyone and smiled. As for the reason, I will keep it secret for now. You will wait and see tomorrow. No one said anything more. At this point, they could only believe Lin Chen. Lin Chen's idea sounded a bit bold, and he couldn't think of any other good ideas. After all, Hancock had a big hero in her heart, and he was definitely not as good as the big hero in her heart. This also made Lin Chen dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, the biggest resistance he faced now was still himself. When night fell, Lin Chen quietly left the room and flew to Daughter Island in the distance. At the same time, Observation Hockey was also revealed. He made a bold decision to raid Hancock's bedroom at night and use some unconventional means to make her change her mind. Chapter 86. Making Hancock Cry. At this time, Hancock's bedroom was filled with water mist, and in the middle was a sunken bathtub. Hazy water vapor floated around, and a white body could be vaguely seen in the pool. Madara. Hancock leaned against the wall of the bathtub, tapping his fingers lightly on the stone wall, frowning as he thought about what Lin Chen said today. After thinking for a long time, Hancock's brows widened again, and he murmured, even if you kill the celestial dragons, it's a pity that someone does it better than you, otherwise it would be a good choice to join you to fight against the world government, the revolutionary army, Breaking Dawn. If you think about it carefully, the two together are indeed qualified to fight against the world government. As he thought about it, another sunny smiling face appeared in Hancock's mind. You must live a good life. Hancock stared blankly at the ceiling, but his heart was filled with pain. Even if I become the emperor, I still can't find you. Where are you? Tread. A sound of footsteps sounded in the silent bedroom. Hearing the sound, Hancock's eyes suddenly shrank. Who? Pulling up the bathrobe on the side and wrapping it around his body, Hancock covered his back and body tightly while searching for enemies. When Hancock noticed the visitor, his pupils suddenly shrank to a point. You are Madara. Why are you here? Hancock looked at Lin Chen, who was wearing a black robe and mask, feeling both angry and a little scared. Seeing Lin Chen unmoved and continuing to stand there looking at her, Hancock felt a sense of humiliation in his heart. Get out of here right now. After hearing Hancock's words, Lin Chen said, I seem to understand why you have changed so much. Hancock's eyes suddenly darkened when he saw that Lin Chen did not leave his boudoir, but instead said some nonsense. Thieves. Go to hell. As he spoke, Hancock rushed towards Lin Chen with his long legs and swept Lin Chen hard with his kick. Looking at the attacking Hancock, Lin Chen just wanted to take off the mask but was ruthlessly interrupted by Hancock's long legs. Listen first. Listen to my explanation. I am. Whoosh. Hancock came menacingly and didn't give Lin Chen a chance to speak. However, he was also cautious because he was afraid of leaking the secret, and did not dare to make any big moves. The guard outside the door seemed to hear the movement in the house and said, Lord Snake G. What happened? Hancock was about to speak, but Lin Chen suddenly panicked in his heart. If he were caught here, his identity as a thief would probably be confirmed. Thinking of this, Lin Chen did not dare to continue playing house with Hancock. He instantly came behind Hancock and covered Hancock's mouth that was about to open. Well, Hancock was already panicking. She found that she couldn't break free from Lin Chen's restraints. Her whole body was tightly strangled, and her mouth was covered by Lin Chen. She couldn't move or make a sound. She suddenly felt powerless in her heart. All this is just like when he was treated as a slave. No matter how severe the torture was, he could not speak out and could only hold it in, because once he made a sound, he would be greeted by even more cruel torture and even death. Thinking of this, Hancock's heart was filled with fear, and his eyes began to become wet, but Lin Chen did not notice all this. The guards outside the door were a little confused when they saw that Hancock's voice was not coming from the room, but they did not dare to go in to investigate the situation. Hancock had always prohibited others from entering while she was bathing. She was afraid that someone would see the slave mark on her back, so she set very strict rules. Sir Shiji, you should be fine. Did we hear wrong just now? That's right. We can't go in without an order. The two girls looked at each other, but in the end they did not choose to break in without permission. Seeing that no one came in, Lin Chen breathed a sigh of relief. When he was about to let go of Hancock, he found that his hands were already wet. Taking a closer look, Hancock was crying silently, and the tears flowed down his cheeks to the back of Lin Chen's hands. Seeing Hancock's appearance, Lin Chen quickly let go of her, but what he didn't expect was that Hancock didn't cry or make any noise. He squatted down and hugged his legs silently. The bathrobe slid down Hancock's body. Hancock's long hair was draped on her back, and the eye-catching slave symbol on the back could be vaguely seen through the hair. Seeing this scene, Lin Chen felt a little confused. It seemed that he had made a mistake. Hancock. As soon as Lin Chen spoke, he saw Hancock staring at him with murderous intent in his eyes. Get out of here now. I don't want to see you. Lin Chen paused when he heard Hancock's words, raised his hand but then put it down. Lin Chen took off the black robe on his body, silently put it on Hancock, and finally the figure disappeared into the darkness. The whole room fell into deathly silence again. Hancock was the only one squatting on the ground and hugging herself. The moonlight shone on her body through the window, making her look extremely lonely. After an unknown amount of time, Hancock sorted out his emotions and put the bathrobe on himself again. He glanced at the black robe Lin Chen left behind, a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes, crumpled it into a ball and threw it in the trash can in the room. Coming to the dressing mirror, Hancock silently looked at himself in the mirror, his eyes still looking a little red. After carefully checking the surroundings with his sense of sight, Hancock showed off his snow-white back after confirming that no one was around. When she saw the eye-catching and red hooves of the heavenly soaring dragon, strong hatred burst out in her eyes. He stretched out his fingers and scratched his back, trying to destroy the mark, but until his back was scratched bloody, the Tianqiang dragon's hoof still did not disappear. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Why? Hancock felt very unwilling in his heart, but in the end he lay helplessly in front of the dressing mirror. Thinking that what Lin Chen had done before was equivalent to trampling his self-esteem under his feet, Hancock felt a sadness in his heart and sobbed silently. I can help you remove this slave mark. A deep male voice sounded next to Hancock, which scared her so much that her heart skipped a beat. If she listened carefully, the voice seemed familiar. When Hancock saw the person clearly, the endless anger in his heart burst out again, and he gritted his teeth and said, Madara. Lin Chen scratched his ears and didn't care. He didn't leave in the first place. He made Hancock cry. He couldn't just pat his ass and walk away. He had to take responsibility to avoid leaving bad feelings in Hancock's heart. Impression. But what Lin Chen probably didn't expect was that Hancock had already labeled him countless times, including lecherous, shameless, vulgar, vile, shameless. Looking at Hancock, who was gritting his teeth at him, Lin Chen said, "Aren't you curious about my identity? I will only tell you one person." As he spoke, Lin Chen slowly took off the mask, and Hancock's eyes gradually widened. Chapter 87. Hancock gradually becomes bolder and more proactive. When Hancock saw Lin Chen's face clearly under the mask, he clenched his pink fist tightly and punched Lin Chen in the stomach with an armed punch. "You dare to play tricks on me?" Lin Chen covered his stomach and squatted on the ground. He was careless and did not dodge. Hancock successfully attacked with a punch. No wonder Hancock felt that he was being tricked. Lin Chen still wore the same mask under his mask. Lin Chen touched the mask on his face and said, okay, I punched you and you should calm down. Actually, I am." As he spoke, Lin Chen took off his mask and revealed his true face. When he saw Lin Chen's face, Hancock's eyes suddenly opened wide and his mouth opened wide, unable to speak. The person he had been longing for suddenly appeared in front of him like this. You. Seeing Hancock speechless, Lin Chen smiled and said, "Why, we haven't seen each other for so many years, and you can't even recognize me." Hancock suddenly froze when he saw the familiar smile on Lin Chen's face, staring at him blankly. Feeling a little uncomfortable under Hancock's gaze, Lin Chen said, "You have changed a lot over the years, but you have fulfilled our original agreement." Hearing Lin Chen's words, Hancock suddenly woke up, and the words Lin Chen said to her rang in his ears. "Go on living a good life." Hancock's heart was filled with various complex emotions at this time, including tension, happiness, surprise, and more importantly, a sense of inferiority. Normally, he always looks arrogant in front of outsiders, but only he knows that all this is to cover up his tragic past. The more people lack something, the more they show it. The time when he was a slave was a shadow that would never leave Hancock's mind. When the big brother in her heart appeared in front of her again, her past experiences turned into a strong sense of inferiority that filled her heart, making her dare not look into Lin Chen's eyes at the moment. As if he noticed Hancock's mood, Lin Chen softly said, "The past is in the past, I can help you remove the marks on your back." Hearing Lin Chen's words, Hancock's eyes widened. He had tried for so many years but could not remove these marks. Could it be that he could really remove them as Lin Chen said? Hancock glanced at Lin Chen suspiciously, his eyes full of distrust. Lin Chen touched the back of his head and said, "Let's do this. If you come back to the ship with me tomorrow, I promise to help you get rid of it." Hearing Lin Chen's confident words, Hancock nodded slightly hesitantly. Immediately, the room fell into a dead silence. Hancock lowered his head and fiddled with his fingers, looking timidly at Lin Chen aside from time to time. Lin Chen was also a little embarrassed at this time and didn't know what to say for a while. The two of them spoke at the same time, but immediately closed their mouths. You speak first. You speak first." Lin Chen and Hancock looked at each other and smiled awkwardly. Then Hancock said no more and plucked up the courage to stare directly at Lin Chen, wanting to see what he said. Lin Chen looked at Hancock and said, "I haven't told you my name for so many years. My name is Lin Chen. I'm also Madara." After thinking about it, Lin Chen continued, "It was my fault just now, and I apologize to you here. I'm sorry." Hearing Lin Chen's words, Hancock blinked his beautiful eyes and said, "I didn't expect Madara to be you. If you had revealed your identity to me from the beginning, so many things wouldn't have happened. Why, hiding it from me?" Lin Chen didn't know what to say. He obviously wanted to expose it directly from the beginning, but who knew that Hancock would directly attack him with his long legs, and he didn't even have time to speak. Just when he found a chance to reveal his identity, he was interrupted by the guards outside the door. For the sake of his lifelong reputation, Lin Chen had to cover Hancock's mouth first, which also led to a deepening of the misunderstanding between the two. Seeing Lin Chen's deflated look, Hancock's depression disappeared and he gradually became bolder in his speech. "Then you came to my bedroom tonight just to find me, or?" As he said this, Hancock looked at Lin Chen with expectant eyes. Lin Chen couldn't let Hancock down for a while. After all, no one can resist a beautiful girl looking at you expectantly. "Absolutely. Actually, I still want you to think carefully about the suggestions I made during the day." Hancock's attention was attracted by the first half of Lin Chen's sentence. He felt sweet in his heart and quickly responded, Yeah, I will fight against the world government with you." Lin Chen looked at Hancock with some confusion. Did this girl think about it and just agreed? Looking at Lin Chen's eyes, Hancock's cheeks exuded a blush. He thought Lin Chen was looking at him, so he glared at Lin Chen in feigned anger. "Don't look around." Lin Chen's throat was dry, and he swallowed carefully. He hadn't noticed Hancock before, but now he realized that she was only wearing a thin bathrobe. The white skin on her back was exposed, and many parts of her body were uncovered. Spring is coming. Hancock also noticed his appearance and quickly wrapped his bathrobe tightly around his body, but his eyes dimmed when he saw the mark on his back. After quietly glancing at Lin Chen, Hancock lifted up the bathrobe behind his back until the hooves of the Tianxiang dragon behind him were completely covered. Lin Chen also noticed Hancock's little move, but pretended not to notice it, which made Hancock feel relieved. As if thinking of his appearance during the day, Hancock glanced at Lin Chen worriedly and said, "I didn't want to target you during the day, and my temper wasn't like that." Seeing the obvious worry that couldn't be hidden on Hancock's face, Lin Chen said, "It's okay, it's not easy for you after so many years, especially when you become the Emperor of Daughter Island. Sometimes it's easier to do things if you have a stronger personality." Hearing Lin Chen's words, Hancock's face became visibly happy. He thought about it and said, "Why was there no news about you back then?" Hearing Hancock's words, Lin Chen also knew that what she was talking about was about how he and Tiger liberated the slaves 5 years ago. Thinking of what happened that year, Lin Chen's eyes flashed with a trace of imperceptible sadness. "It's nothing. There were some things back then. Now that I think about it, it's gone. There's nothing to say." After hearing Lin Chen's words, Hancock became even more curious, and at the same time he became curious about Lin Chen's past. What happened back then? Why does Lin Chen now want to remain anonymous and become Madara, and fight against the world government? All these questions filled Hancock's mind, but at this moment, a question suddenly appeared in her heart, which even made her blush. Glancing at Lin Chen quietly, Hancock said coquettishly, "Brother Lin Chen, do you have a girlfriend now?" Chapter 88. Winning over Daughter Island. Lin Chen looked at her in surprise when he heard Hancock's words. What does this girl mean? Could it be? Thinking of this, Lin Chen was a little panicked for a moment. I am afraid that even a man would be unable to control himself when he saw Hancock's current appearance. Of course, the influence of Tiantian fruit was also indispensable. After calming down, Lin Chen slowly said, "Yes." After hearing Lin Chen's answer, Hancock's face became visibly disappointed, but he immediately smiled and said, "That's right. Brother Lin Chen is so good." Seeing Hancock's forced smile, Lin Chen didn't know what to say for a moment and could only respond in silence. With his current status, once he is exposed, those who are close to him will become a thorn in the side of the world government, so he can only try to reduce the fetters related to himself before completing the cause in his heart. The air was a little dull for a while. Looking at Hancock, Lin Chen said, "I'll leave first if I have something else to do. Remember to come to my boat tomorrow and I'll help you get rid of the seal of the heavenly soaring dragon." After saying that, Lin Chen turned around and walked to the window, facing the moonlight and disappearing into the dark sky, leaving Hancock alone looking out the window blankly. After Lin Chen left, Hancock looked lonely at first, and finally his eyes suddenly became firm, and an arrogant look reappeared in his eyes. "I will never lose. Come on, Hancock. So what if brother Lin Chen has a girlfriend? I am the king of Daughter Island. I will definitely never give up." Early the next morning, everyone came to Hancock's palace again. Different from yesterday, the atmosphere in the palace today was slightly cold. Many aunts showed angry eyes when they saw Lin Chen and others appearing. Several people were confused about this. Lin Chen probably thought that these aunts didn't want Nertao and Dawn to form an alliance, so they showed their faces to everyone. Hancock, who was sitting on the high seat, still looked arrogant. The two looked at each other. Hancock quickly looked away, but from the corner of his eye, he glanced in Lin Chen's direction from time to time. Seeing that the time was ripe, Lin Chen said, "I wonder what Mr. Hancock thought of yesterday's suggestion." Hancock showed a lazy attitude and said calmly, "After a night of thinking, I agree to work with you to fight against the world government." As soon as Hancock said what he said, the aunts around him exploded and looked at Hancock in shock. Obviously Hancock still refused yesterday. Even if he finally told Lin Chen to give the final answer tomorrow, anyone with a discerning eye could see that this was just a step. Why did he change his mind today? Thinking of the consequences of confronting the world government, the ladies in the audience could not sit still and quickly admonished Hancock. "Your Majesty the Empress. With all due respect, I have assisted the Empress of the third generation and can be considered a veteran of the three dynasties. I can't just watch Daughter's Island be destroyed in your hands." The speaker was an old woman, standing at the head of the ladies below. The old woman saw that Hancock was silent and glanced around. When she saw Lin Chen and the others, she sneered. "These people are just homeless dogs being hunted by the world government and marine. Just a few words. Want to drag our Daughter Island into the water? The century-old foundation of Daughter Island cannot be destroyed in your hands. Even the leader is just a guy who abandoned his companions. Haven't you seen that Golden Lion has been arrested and is about to be tried? Who knows whether our Daughter's Island will become the next Golden Lion?" As he spoke, a majestic aura emerged from his body, which made the aunts around him seem to have found a backbone, and they all verbally criticized Lin Chen and the others. Lin Chen watched the performance of this group of people quietly without saying anything. Hancock clenched her fists tightly, suppressing the anger in her heart, but when she heard someone in the crowd starting to say bad things about Lin Chen, her whole body was like a ignited powder keg, and her temper exploded instantly. "That's enough. You all shut up." An amazing conqueror's haki emanates from Hancock, giving the aunts below a sense of suffocation. Rayleigh and others looked at Hancock with some surprise. He could awaken conquerors at such a young age, and his future achievements will definitely be high. Even Lin Chen was a little surprised. He could have imagined that Hancock would awaken conquerors in various ways, but he didn't expect that Hancock would awaken on such an occasion and target his own people. At the same time, Lin Chen glanced at Hancock suspiciously. It wasn't that he was narcissistic, he felt that Hancock conquerors' awakening seemed to be related to him. The ladies in the audience who were shocked by Hancock conquerors also shut their mouths. Only the old woman in the lead seemed a little unwilling and still wanted to say something. But an old voice made her shut her mouth immediately. Ahem, that's enough. The emperor of the daughter country is Lady Snake Lady now. Do you want to rebel by openly resisting Lady Snake Lady? Hancock glanced at the man, with a hint of gratitude in his eyes, and said, Grandma, why are you here? Grandma Z glanced at Hancock, with a hint of endearment in her eyes, but her face remained respectful, and said, Lord Snake Princess, I agree with you in forming an alliance with Dawn. The chaos of the world has appeared. No one can stay out of this turmoil. Shichibukai, World Government, Marine, the Pirate Emperor of the New World, and Dawn, the Revolutionary Army. After speaking, he glanced at Lin Chen again and continued, World Government has been established for 800 years and is now crumbling. However, no one is sure how much power the World Government has. Dawn and the Revolutionary Army want to overthrow them. Very difficult. Lin Chen looked at the old man, stood up and said, in that case, why do you agree with Nummer Island to join forces with us? There was an inexplicable sparkle in Grandma Z's eyes. She glanced at Hancock and then at Lin Chen and said, what I see is your potential. You are growing so fast. And, Madara, you have a terrifying cohesion. Look at the people around you. No matter what difficulties they face, they always stand by your side. Even if they resist the world government, they never flinch. You and ordinary people, the pirates, are different, and they are also different from the revolutionary army. Perhaps, given enough time, you will really have a chance to bring down the rotten tree of world government. I will also wait and see about the future, cough. Looking at this old man, Lin Chen couldn't help but sigh with emotion. There are still many wise people in this world, and he also respected him in his words. I see. Maybe it's true as you said. Give us enough time and we will bring down the world government. At the same time, Shaki, who had been silent for a long time, also said, I have long disliked the world government. Being able to join forces with Dawn to fight against the world government is just what I want. Those celestial dragons should have died long ago. With the support of previous generations and emperors, and even the current emperor Hancock also agreed, everyone in the audience naturally did not dare to say anything. Seeing this, Hancock also announced, Girl Island has officially formed an alliance with Dawn. Let's fight against the world government together. Seeing Hancock's firm eyes, Lin Chen breathed a sigh of relief. This trip was really not easy. The crocodile people behind him all looked at Lin Chen with strange expressions. It was just as he said, he succeeded today, but they didn't know what method Lin Chen used to make Hancock change the speed. After much deliberation, there was only one possibility. Lin Chen confessed his identity to Hancock. After all, Lin Chen was grateful to Hancock. Once he confessed his identity, it would be much easier to make Hancock change his mind. Chapter 89 Treatment Hancock. Seeing that his goal had been achieved, Lin Chen said, I won't stay any longer. Don't forget the agreement between us. After saying that, Lin Chen turned around and left the palace. Hancock looked at Lin Chen's back and subconsciously tried to persuade him to stay, but he immediately closed his mouth when he looked at the people around him, still showing an arrogant look. Grandma Z glanced at Hancock thoughtfully, but didn't say anything more. She just looked at Lin Chen's back and felt a little worried. In her heart, if Hancock develops an admiration for Lin Chen, there will be no good results. Lin Chen's mission is too heavy, and Hancock also shoulders the important responsibility of being the king of a country. The two of them are destined to be involved in their own burdens in this life. How come there is still time to talk about the love between children? Unless, if Lin Chen can destroy the world government within 10 years, the two may still be able to fall in love while they are young. Otherwise, the two of them can only grow old in the endless years, just like themselves. They have to abandon some things for the future of Girls Island, and eventually die alone. Some things once missed will last a lifetime. Seeing that Hancock was still looking at Lin Chen's back blankly, her mother-in-law also reminded her in time, which also made Hancock's little face blush slightly, but he quickly returned to his previous posture, and at the same time looked at her with an unkind look. Looking at a group of aunts in the audience. After this incident, Hancock found that her status and right to speak did not seem to be as stable as she imagined. In matters related to the future of Daughters Island, her decision as the emperor was collectively opposed by everyone, which made her feel very sad. Angry. At this time, she looked coldly at the old woman in the audience who had been against her from the beginning, and said, I see that you are not too young, a veteran of 3 dynasties, Hurry up and go home to retire. Hearing Hancock's straightforward words, the old woman's face turned pale, and she immediately pretended to be trembling and said, I have devoted decades to Daughters Island, but I didn't expect that I would be deposed by you, a yellow-haired girl. That's all, alas. The rest of the people looked at the old woman with a touch of sadness in their hearts, and immediately came out to plead, Lord Snake G, please let her go. Yes, Lady Snake, everyone is doing this for Daughter Island, why bother killing them all? A sneer flashed in Hancock's heart. He raised his brows and looked at these guys who were relying on their old age and said indifferently, "Oh. In that case, you all can leave." The ladies in the audience were stunned when they heard Hancock's words, their faces full of disbelief. Seeing the group of aunts frozen in place, Hancock showed no mercy and burst into Conqueror's Haki, with a hint of murderous intent in his words. "Why, do you want me to send you on your way in person?" Everyone shuddered. If Hancock really sent them off, he might not be sending them home, but the way to the west. Grandma Z glanced at the people in the audience and sighed in her heart. Daughter Island has never needed many voices. There is only one thing they have to do, and that is to listen to the Emperor's voice. In this world, strength is paramount, and Hancock is now the most powerful person on Daughter's Island. This group of people should realize that Hancock protected them, instead of starting to point fingers at Hancock just because they have seniority. Didn't you see that the previous emperors like yourself had moved to live around the island to avoid suspicion? Now I only visit Hancock occasionally and give some useful suggestions instead of making decisions without authorization. The aunts in the audience knew that they were no longer able to revolving heaven, so they all looked at Hancock unwillingly, and finally left the palace. Only Hancock, Grandma Z, and Shaki were left in the palace. Shaki saw this scene and said with a smile, "Hancock. Well done. If I had met this group of people back then, I would have lost if they had not died. They all really regard themselves as individuals. Dare to point fingers at the Emperor. Do you want me to help you get rid of them? Keeping these people is a disaster and is not conducive to your rule." Hearing Shaki's words, Hancock shook his head slightly and said, "I'm in a good mood today and don't want to go on a killing spree, so just let them go. I have to discuss the rest of the matter with Madara." As he spoke, Hancock stretched out, revealing his exquisite figure, exuding endless charm, stood up and left the palace. The two of them said nothing more and watched Hancock leave, looking forward to the future of Daughter Island in their hearts. At this time, Lin Chen and others had returned to the ship, and Lin Chen also told them in detail the reasons why Hancock changed his suggestion. As everyone guessed, Lin Chen revealed his identity to Hancock, but Monet began to feel faintly worried, hoping that things would not develop as he thought. After a while, Hancock came to Lin Chen's boat. The moment he saw Lin Chen, Hancock's eyes showed a hint of surprise and he ran over briskly. "Brother Lin Chen." Everyone opened their eyes in disbelief when they saw this scene. Is this the arrogant and indifferent Lady Snake in the palace? Looking at Hancock running over, Lin Chen dodged slightly, which also frustrated Hancock's little calculation. He wanted to throw himself into Lin Chen's arms when his brother wasn't paying attention. Seeing Hancock's weird look, Lin Chen rubbed his head and said, okay, let's do business first." After that, he ducked into the bedroom. Hancock looked at everyone, covered his face with his hands and showed a shy look, as if he wanted to do something ulterior, and followed Lin Chen into the bedroom. Everyone stared at this scene blankly. Lin Chen's words and Hancock's actions filled people with endless reverie. After a long time, Rayleigh came back to his senses, and the armament hockey attached to his hand violently grabbed Crocodile's arm. "Hey, what are you doing? Ouch." Looking at Crocodile's appearance, Rayleigh said, "It turns out it was not a dream." "Old Rayleigh, do you want to eat the pancakes? Do you want to see if you are dreaming about pinching your own flesh?" Rayleigh smiled awkwardly. "It hurts to pinch myself." Crocodile. When the bedroom door closed, everyone looked at each other and started their most extreme observation hockey, while sticking to the door and listening to what was going on inside. After a while, there was a sound of taking off clothes, followed closely by Lin Chen's voice. "It might hurt a little, just bear with it, it'll be fine soon." Chapter 90. The Faintly Untied Knot. Advertise here. Brother Lin Chen, I'm in a little pain. Bear with me for a moment, I've only just entered a little bit. Hiss. Ah. Don't twist around, I have to get it right. Pain. A thin layer of sweat appeared on Lin Chen's forehead, and he gently crawled on Hancock's back and kept adjusting his position. All this is to allow the eyes to carefully see the hooves of the Tianxiang dragon on her back. At the same time, an extremely fine chakra scalpel appeared on Lin Chen's hand, and he was slashing at the mark on Hancock's back. At the same time, Lin Chen's other hand was not idle, and a gentle green light appeared in his hand. With the sound of flesh being cut open, Lin Chen immediately covered it with healing jutsu, which also made Hancock's pain disappear a lot. As the operation progressed, Lin Chen frowned tightly. He thought it was just an ordinary tattoo, but he didn't expect that the mark had penetrated deep into the skin and into the flesh. I don't know how those damn celestial dragons did it. Time passed by minute by second, and finally, Lin Chen's brows relaxed and his hands stopped moving slightly. Glancing at Hancock, Lin Chen found that she was asleep. Looking at Hancock's back, it has become as smooth as jade, as if he had not undergone surgery, but there are still very faint marks on his back, which cannot be noticed without looking carefully. Lin Chen was also very confused about this. In his perception, everything should have been eliminated. Why is there still a faint shadow? He glanced at Hancock, who was sleeping soundly. His beautiful face looked peaceful, with only his brows furrowing from time to time, as if he had dreamed of something bad. Gently stroking Hancock's hair, Lin Chen's warm palm seemed to reduce Hancock's fear a little, and his brows slowly relaxed. Lin Chen sighed in his heart. The mark of slavery on his back can be removed, but the mark in his heart may be difficult to remove. I am afraid that the shadow on his back will truly disappear only when Hancock is no longer afraid of his past. All this requires Lin Chen to overthrow the world government and the celestial dragons. When the concept of true freedom and fairness is deeply rooted in everyone's heart, naturally no one in the world will fear the celestial dragons and the suffering they bring. Without waking up the sleeping Hancock, Lin Chen quietly stood up and left. Before leaving, he put a thin quilt on Hancock. When Lin Chen came outside the bedroom, he found Crocodile and several people gathered together to discuss things with serious faces. Actually, I think my fruit can still be developed this way. After hearing Crocodile's words, everyone nodded, and they all made suggestions as if they were thinking about Crocodile. Rayleigh said with a serious face, I think what you said makes sense, but I don't think it affects you from building the sand into an artificial beach so that we can enjoy beach bathing at the best time of every day. This is very important to me. Very friendly for such an old man. Lin Chen's mouth twitched slightly when he heard the nonsense of this group of people. If Lin Chen hadn't been able to sense that these guys had never left the bedroom door, he might have really believed it. Okay, stop pretending. Do you really think I didn't notice you? It was a critical moment and I was too lazy to talk to you. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Crocodile's eyes lit up, an ambiguous smile appeared on his face, and he said, a critical moment. How tight? After hearing Crocodile's words, Lin Chen was speechless for a while and said, okay, let's stop this matter. I'm just helping Hancock get rid of the hoof of the Tianqiang dragon behind her. Please don't mention the past in front of her in the future. Everyone had a look of understanding. Rayleigh looked at Lin Chen and said, but I can see that that girl is interested in you. What are you going to do? What are you going to say to Guon? Hearing Rayleigh's words, Lin Chen frowned. It must be said that the old man Rayleigh's eyes were still very vicious. He immediately asked about the key point. Even Monet quietly pricked up his ears, wanting to hear what Lin Chen had to say. Answer. Let's put this matter aside for now. We've been staying here for a while. It's time to set off. There are still a lot of things waiting for us to do. Crocodile looked at Lin Chen's serious expression and knew that Lin Chen had really decided to leave this time, and asked, when will we leave? Where will we go? Without thinking, Lin Chen said, let me explain some things to Hancock, and we will set off in 3 days. Go to New World, and stop at the Fishman Island for a while. I wonder how that guy Tiger is doing. Got it. Several people glanced at Lin Chen in surprise. Only Enel vaguely remembered that Lin Chen seemed to have been looking for Tiger a few years ago and told him something, asking him to go to the Fishman Island. Kizaru captured Tiger's son pirates a few years ago. We were at Tom's place at that time. I took the time to go there and helped Tiger drive Kizaru away and let him return to the Fishman Island to see if he could. I don't know what's going on now if I try to drive a wedge between the Fishman Island and the world government. Several people understood it, but when they heard Lin Chen mentioning Tom, they all felt reminiscing. Even Lin Chen smacked his lips and said, I don't know how Tom is doing now. Let's go see him when we have time. When Hancock woke up again, it was already night. At this time, she lay lazily on Lin Chen's bed, her eyes full of confusion as she had just woken up. It wasn't until a while later that Hancock slowly woke up and felt a little emotional. He hadn't slept so soundly in a long time. After standing up and stretching, a thin quilt slipped off Hancock's body, revealing his smooth and flawless back, and his long hair covered the rough waves on his chest. Gently pulling up the hair on her chest, Hancock looked around. When she saw the thin quilt, a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Then she picked up the quilt and wrapped it tightly around herself, while burying her face. He took a deep breath under the quilt. Boom, boom, boom. Hancock, are you awake? Come out to eat when you wake up. Lin Chen's voice came from outside the door, making Hancock's heart flutter. Coming. After casually responding, Lin Chen left here after hearing Hancock's voice and came to the beach built by Crocodile using his abilities. The food was still the same as yesterday, Sea Kings. Lin Chen used wood style to build a huge barbecue grill, which was different. What's more, there are more people today. Hancock was fully dressed in the bedroom. When she saw through the mirror that the eye-catching mark on her back seemed to have disappeared, she was stunned. However, when she looked carefully, there was still a faint shadow, but it was better than before. Many. A flash of memories from the past flashed through his mind. Hancock quickly shook his head to throw away these scenes, and what he thought of instead was the scene of Lin Chen saving her, and the scene of Lin Chen executing Charmaine in front of the whole world. And, Lin Chen concentrated on helping himself remove the mark on his back. Thinking of all this, Hancock felt happy again, opened the door and walked out. When he saw the familiar figure greeting him, Hancock grinned widely, with the most beautiful posture of a girl on his face, and walked towards Lin Chen and others.